Oh, holy shit, am I live? Oh, shit. Hey guys. We're gonna be reacting to a Hollow Knight speedrun today. And then probably watch some lore by I think his name is Mossbag. Yeah. Yeah, I was asked yesterday to watch a speed run, and yeah. Yeah, Hollow. I literally said Hollow, did I not? Oh, I have the inscription thing still titled. That's a mistake. Oopsies. Let me just spam that button really fast. Yes, yes, yes. Hollow Knight it is. If I play Hollow, you're gone? Well, we're probably gonna play a little bit of Hollow tonight, so apologies. But you guys seem to have caught me doing some light journaling. Which, I mean, I guess is okay. I guess that's okay. But, yeah. How are we doing, everybody? How are we doing today? Don't go for that one. Jeez. Actually, how about we, hold on. How about we do some of this? Are we doing okay, everybody? Moving from Washington to California? Oh, nice, nice. Okay, that's good. That's good. How's everyone's what we all do, you know? I wonder if this is copyright. There's got to be a copyright one, right? Probably. Anyway. Listen to Hatsune Miku? Now that is copyright. Maybe if I was shorts feed. Maybe if I was shorts feed. I don't know if I can listen to Hatsune Miku. Oh. So, on today's agenda, we have the Hollow Knight. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can make this right. Give me a second. We have the Hollow Knight world record. And then I will be watching whatever you guys come up with for me to watch for lore. And whatever lore subjects or whatever. So, yeah. That's our kind of thing. We're gonna watch the speedrun and react to it, because I mean I was told to, you know. And then we're gonna watch some Mossbag and probably play the game a little bit ourselves as well. But I think this is a fair-ish way to get some stuff done. Seems the people on Twitch don't want the whatever, right? MG or no MG? MG. What do you mean, MG? What is MG? Major glitches? Oh, I have no idea. This is, Hollow Knight any percent. It doesn't say anything. It is just a world record. So it could use glitches, I have no idea. Possibly. Possibly could. Watching a video on what major glitches are. It is possible. This could have major glitches in it. This could have major glitches in it. Let's pause our music. And you know what? We're just gonna hop right into it. We're gonna hop right into it. No reason to really fully diddle-daddle. I guess this is a 47-minute. We might just, like, skip ahead if at some point, see maybe what we choose for this. We'll see. Save transferring. Oh, yeah. I'm curious as to, like, what a Hollow Knight speedrunner looks like. You know?
Hashtag raw.
MG's like sub 10? Oh, jeez. That is kind of crazy. No, this guy's probably as legit as it gets or something, I think. 32 minutes, though. That seems absurdly fast. Right? That's gotta be way quick. He took the shortcut for the little, like, ground break right there.
She crusty on my crab till I chum.
Alright, what the hell?
What is this, like, rated R bikini bottom?
No, we might just add hype music over this. We might just add hype music over this, to be honest. I don't know.
SpongeBob.
I don't think I need to necessarily hear his commentary unless he actually talks about the game. But I have seen that. I have seen that in like a I have seen that in like a in a I think a sort of speedrun video. It was basically you like pause or you go into the charm menu and you don't get the you don't get like the fall animation, right? The one where like when you hit the ground and you hit the ground hard or whatever. It causes you to not break. It just makes you fall faster?
Fuck.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't do that full jump, you get freeze frames.
That's interesting.
Jump.
Yeah, that's pretty odd. Okay. That makes you fall faster. Is this one attempt? That's 47 minutes long. This is probably just one attempt, right? All the way through?
Yeah, you do the whole jump, so you don't get the freeze frames.
Murdered. Oh yeah, there's like no break there. There's no break in that fight.
I can send you my layout. Slide.
He just leaves the arena? Why does he leave the arena there? What? Alright. He doesn't need to get the crest. Is that fight just optional? You can literally just leave that fight? You don't think it is? Interesting. Okay. Well. Bro's just swinging at every background object in the game. He's literally just going ham on it. You don't think it's supposed to be? Well, he seems to just be skipping it just fine.
You still finish 32s? Not really. Basically only 31s.
31s? 32s? If I know what that means. I'm assuming that's his time.
31, but I didn't update my counter. No, I think I died in Beast 10. Yeah, I did.
There's like I guess he has like speed run timers for certain locations or something like that. I'm not sure. Are we already going into green path? Yeah, I guess.
What?
We're already in green path. Okay.
Why is the sour spot a thing, man? It's so dumb. Okay, I'm still ahead.
But it does. I mean, alright. I guess if you only need to be in it for so long, right? He's already shaved off like a second and a half of his previous or whatever. So he's clearly locked in. Obviously. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was solid.
Oh! Is that normal? That was normal, right? Yeah, that was normal. I guess you take the Wraith shot for the so that you get like a freeze frame or something like that, right? For the freeze frames. I can see the movement becoming extremely erratic once he gets further into this.
I mean, you know.
Nice. Wow, that was fast.
It was just good RNG.
RNG.
Mistakes, the first
I feel like RNG isn't right in this. There's not really much for RNG in Hollow Knight, am I right? Rest in peace, Zote. Just abandoned Zote. And there's both of those guys. He's well on his way to... Yeah. Yeah, he skips a lot of Green Path doing that way. Because he just took like 2 rooms and he's already there.
I mean,
Mob spawn locations? Oh, okay.
What? What am I on? I've never...
How come he has all his stuff in like Chinese? He's English speaking. Oh, I know why, never mind. This Hollow Knight speedruns is like super popular in China. If I remember correctly.
Oh, this is still fine.
Hollow Knight speedruns are like really popular in China.
I'm offended. I'm offended too. I don't know how I've done this.
He's a keyboard player. I feel like I couldn't play keyboard for this game. Keyboard for this game was too much. It was like too much for me to even just like look at. And I think part of that is because I don't even know if my mouse was used.
I'm always scared that she's gonna like iframe it though.
Especially no hit Pantheon 5.
But I
Wasn't
think
there a
help the chance
like
of
a
people
speedrunner, a Chinese speedrunner
access Skate King. I
who
mean,
did
Skate-
a no-hit Pantheon 5 and was like found caught cheating? Like multiple times. Yeah, you do fall faster. Whoa, that is weird looking. Okay, that's really whack. Yeah, see, his movement's already upgraded since he's got this dash. He's already in, no, wait, no. I thought he was already at a Queen's Junction or whatever. A couple get caught. It's kind of sad that that's like the thing, right? They have to get caught. But honestly, if you're doing good enough to where like you're not getting hit, but you're cheating, it's crazy because it's like you're probably good enough that you don't actually need them, right? Okay, is this another skip? Oh, whoa. Because he hit the target, he was able to do another double jump. Or, no wait, he doesn't even have double jump. Because he hit the target, he's able to dash? Okay, wait, what was that about? He just got Mantis Claw?
Hi, Conra. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long.
And now we're saving?
Everything's good.
We pause during these times, I guess?
Are you streaming? Did I get rated? I think I did. I don't know why the notification.
Ugh. I'm actually so sick of my voice being so garbage. I've watched a few Mossbag videos for the lore at this point, but I'm sure there's a lot of it I'm missing out or am not grasping that you guys can probably help me keep on track of.
Oh, nice.
Must be balanced how matter your loading time. Oh, okay, that makes some sense. Even though his PC handled that like a champ. Jeez.
Dude, this is so much time for no reason.
Okay, we've got the stag station locked, which is like something that I would have done very quick, but because he's going backwards, it's taking an entirely different time
Second and a half, really.
time frame. It's interesting. Okay, we're fighting the grub mother now, right? Wow. Wow. Is this the skip that you guys tried having me doing, where you go into the resting grounds or whatever?
Nice.
You guys like tried making me skip up to that little top jump or something like that?
Like you said.
You like intentionally get yourself killed?
From Connor streams there. It went by really
Shaman Stone? Makes sense.
Sashes, 8? Yeah, 8.
Yeah, he like gets intentionally wrecked. Is he getting the trader? He is. Okay.
To a math class Discord. How does that even work?
Oh, so fast. Even just going through freaking... Even just going through freaking... The,
Oh, you want... Okay, I see.
Increasing the nail damage ups enemies' HP. Well, like, yeah, that way you have to upgrade, like, spells, right? But even still, it's worth it to upgrade the nail, because overall you do more. Right? It's just so that your spells kind of start falling behind. That was crazy looking. He, like, flew through that spot, no?
I didn't introduce myself. Hi guys, I'm Skate.
I guess this is Skate, guys.
In the game Hollow Knight.
He
100%.
plays Hollow Knight.
At the moment, I'm currently trying to improve it. Wish me luck. Who the fuck are you?
That's why you never see a nail upgrade. Interesting. Yeah, the water speed glitch was interesting to watch. That was pretty crazy looking.
Are you talking to me?
The water speed
Thank you
jumps.
very much. Never mind. Fuck.
Is there a fight he does here? There's no fight in this area, right?
Fuck.
It's just the dreamers.
Fuck. What is this?
I mean, he's like really mad, but I don't know why.
That was the worst dream class I've ever seen in my life. I think I get fired.
He just actually did he just do bad on the landings? I'm so confused. He was constantly
He
moving.
gets kicked out. I didn't get kicked out, but everybody's just staring at me awkwardly.
He was like constantly moving.
But,
What the hell?
not as like much. I think I like over exactly.
What?
Nah,
Bro, his character hadn't even woken up yet.
they were definitely needed.
He still shaved off like 4 seconds of it, didn't he?
Okay, well I made up all of it, so it's all good.
He moves so fast. I feel like he moves like extra speed for some reason. And we're already down into kingdoms. Kingdom of Tears or not, whatever, City of Tears. So what, we're already like going to the Dreamers,
Frick you, bro.
I'm assuming. Yeah, he like barely touches the floor. He barely like nicks it, and then he's dashing. The game thinks you're wall clinging? Oh.
Agree.
We're getting the 420. Nice. 420 Geo. No, oh, he missed some. He missed some. Go back. I'm just kidding. Go back, you missed some. I'm trying to keep my water intake up because I'm still kind of sick. And the water's really been helping my throat. Okay, so he uses a background object to pogo himself up past the double jump area. Is this room usually this dark? Wait, what?
That was not worth it, but it's okay.
That doesn't seem like normal, right? Slept through them, hardware, you're fine, man. You're chilling, brother. What was that? Wait, what'd that do? What did that do?
Can you stop bouncing?
What'd taking down the chandelier do? He got hit. He got hit. I think I fought these guys better, honestly. Yeah, I was way faster. I kills one of them for free? Really? How many of them has he fought?
Fuck.
Is this 4 now? Once he fights this one? 3. And this is...
Oh, it was terrible.
And that's 5?
It was like gonna be fine, and then. Oh.
Whoa.
Still fine.
Oh yeah, if he died in this boss fight, I feel like that'd be probably embarrassing, right? Yeah, I did realize that's so much faster. Just wall jumping off the instead of taking the elevators.
I mean,
You've been living good. Ultra Kill got a massive update. Don't know if we'll be playing Ultra Kill next.
Yeah, like 2.
I mean, it only took us like, what, 16 minutes to get here? And he's save locking because you get out of the dream scene faster? Yeah? Okay. That's interesting. I guess that's fair. The dream scenes are very long.
Oh, I missed a 5, really?
650 Geo out of that?
Oh, that's
Nice.
good. It's fine as long as I get all 18. But
Rubba! No, he's got it. He's got this, right? Guys, make sure that you find the lore videos you want me to watch from Mossbag, because those will be the ones that we'll probably be looking at. Those will be the ones that we look at.
I don't know. Whatever.
He needs 1800 for Lumafly. Ah, okay, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Oh. Okay. Whoa.
That's fine.
What does that get him? That's not bad. 450?
Okay, so we're 43. We need 14. We might try to get
All the other upgrades to another save? Yeah, that would probably break the run a bit, huh?
We can do an extra dash and then get this guy here. I really don't want to get rock. We'll see what I can do in big room.
Oh, okay. He has the 1800 he needs.
I hate it.
He's just taking the cell. Does he even go down into the sewers for Dung Defender in this?
It's technically not faster.
Oh, he'd have to, right? Because you need to for, what's his face? He has to go down in there for, the Isma's tier, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
You might not have to fight Dung Defender for it, but don't you need that to get through areas? To, just needs Crystal Dash? Oh,
It's
okay.
just not fake, because you have to jump, like, really high.
What was that about? What are we doing?
It's about a second, yeah.
How much time did he just save there?
And, like, getting it out of the way earlier is...
Oh, it pauses during, beetles as well? During the fast travel? There we go. What? Okay, dude. That's some confidence. I didn't even see it go over the lantern, man. Interesting. It's already infected? Right, because he took out the first. He took out the first thing. That's right.
I wanted to be an apple eater.
So we're already going to
I jumped like
Crystal Dash. Already hitting up Crystal Dash.
I be eating pumpkin.
Hollow Knight iceberg. Biggest mystery left in Hollow Knight. Okay. I could never dodge past those guys. The ones with the wall spikes on the walls. They're so annoying to dodge past. I feel like I always just end up tanking the hit and running past him. He's about to fight the angry crystal guy, right? Laser crystal dude. He's pretty easy to fight. Does he? No, he doesn't. Whoa.
Okay.
Freeze frame. Just doesn't care. I mean, I guess that's fair. That's like the first hit I've seen him get hit in this area, so. Ooh.
Alright.
Oh.
That's pretty good.
Whoa, I thought he was dead there.
Pretty solid. Should be a 55. Yeah, it is. Cool. Mid too.
Period? For Crystal Dash? What? What? Period? That's so weird. That's so weird. And he's gonna spawn back at a bench, right? Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason for him to take all that stuff, huh? All that space. So where are we headed now? Are we going to, the Spiders Kingdom? Are we going for wings? Is that our trip now? It's like, I'd imagine that's probably at least one of the things he needs, right? Ooh. Ooh. Whoa.
There's something so funny about saying thanks to like something not directed at you. I laugh at it every time.
Whoa. That was an insane Jeez. That was like a crazy skip. What the hell? The landing timing on that had to have been perfect. Perfect.
I forgot which button to press. That is quite unfortunate. I don't know. It's really weird.
It's sub 5 with the glitches, with major glitches. That's crazy. Is that toss? The true low percent run of this game takes an extra 70 hours farming essence from killing those bird bugs in Green Path. Extremely low chance. That'd piss me off. Who's taking their time to do that? This fight wasn't bad. This fight wasn't a terrible boss fight. I don't think I lost while I did it.
Fuck, that's really bad.
I think I got close though.
It was not an extra yes.
And there he goes. He's moving. He's schmoving. And there it is. There's second mask, and we're 23 minutes in. Keep in mind, you guys watch me play this game for hours. And we're gonna kill the lady, and then we're gonna save jump or whatever. We're gonna close our save off.
My left tricep really hurts. I had a really good tricep workout.
And he's
yesterday.
jorking it. I'm just kidding.
Feeling it in Hollow Knight, baby.
You just watched the end. What? Oh, you watched the end of the gameplay. True. You still watched me play it for hours though, I think. You were still there for a lot of Path of Pain. if I remember correctly. Nice. Bounces off a background item. So background items apparently just actually come in clutch for speedrunners here, huh? You didn't see any Path of Pain? Oh. 8 years with no Silk Song? Oh, I was trying to do that. I remember trying to do that. Trying to get on that little corner to teleport. Or Crystal Dash. Dang. So we're already in Queen Garden.
I don't need that hit. What am I doing?
I guess that means we're getting the half mask from the Queen, right? We're defeating the traitor. Nah, I don't like fighting those guys. Those guys are a little annoying. Yeah, okay, that's I think that's a fair drop. I feel like that's a drop I accidentally did. Is this true percentage? I think this is just any percentage.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah, this is just any percentage. I kind of wanted to watch a speed run because we played the game and I was like, I took a long time to beat that. But I mean, like, I got all the grubs and we fought like a lot of the optional bosses and everything too, so I just kind of wanted to get what the game was worth. This guy is scary. He's a freaking freak of nature. Look at this. He's not fighting a single enemy in what's it called? Deep Nest. You didn't even fight a single thing there. There he goes. He's stuck.
For the best part of the run.
Are they spiders? Is that what those guys in the coats are? Are they just spiders? Because, like, that's a big creature. That sound right there is a big creature. That's not the little spider dudes. Yeah, just jump right past them. You don't need them. And this guy? Yeah, you don't need to fight him. This guy? Yeah, you don't need to fight him. Just crystal dash through him. There you go. That guy? Just dash right past him. Yeah, see, we're just going nuts. We're already up and over? He's like in the last room for the mask, right? Oh, he's almost dead. Ooh.
Let's go.
That was crazy close, if you ask me.
A little bit of a slip up with Timmy and Tommy, but everything else is good. Alright,
I feel like she would have made an interesting boss fight if they made the Dreamers all be like boss fights. I feel like she would have made an interesting one. At least.
oh god.
I feel like maybe they should have made them boss fights. What are we saying? We're 28 minutes in. We're 28 minutes in. Doesn't that mean there's like for 28 minutes, that's
I'm gonna wait till I land.
what?
Oh, no.
There's 4 minutes left in this run?
I think that's just the
Technically.
for runs there.
Has he already gotten all the masks? He's missing one, isn't he? What mask is he missing? No, he's gotten all the masks now. Oh my gosh. What the hell? What the hell? That bro's still just standing there at the well like, yo, you gotta talk to me and start my little sideline here? No, I'm about to go kill Hollow Knight. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm about to go seal away the infection real quick. I'll be right back. Jeez, man. I forgot about the chain breaking thing. I'm not gonna lie, it felt so...
Good split.
It didn't feel that, like,
Alright.
that, like, big. Breaking the chains for some reason. There you go, buddy. Just keep on swinging. We're 30 minutes in. He saved time on almost every single phase. I think he has saved time on every single phase. Well, look, he saved 9.6 seconds getting to Hollow Knight. There we go, staggered. We're about to get angry Hollow Knight right there. He's just 100% aggression. There's zero time for a break there. There's no break fighting him.
Holy shit.
Okay, apparently you can just be in that bottom left area and be chill the entire time. Is that not RNG?
Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh my
Yeah, oh my god.
Heal! Jesus Christ. I don't... What? Holy shit.
Oh my gosh. He messed up the time on the heal. Guys, he ruined it. It's over.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
I'm tired of the sound. I don't like the sound.
Bro,
Dang!
that was calm stop if I didn't mess up the heal. Oh
31-24. Wild. That's it, right? And then he just talks about his live stream. Okay. Check out 2 Pantheon ending cutscenes. I think we did, didn't we? Where, like, the Void attacks the... Pantheon... cutscene... endings. Pantheon ending scene. Damn, this is one, this is the new final ending. The video how Hollow Knight was beat under 5 minutes. I mean, it looks a lot crazier, this, like, true ending, right? That's a way bigger Void Beast. It's not just a little Hollow Knight whipping him. It's just a ginormous Void Beast. And then, like, the Void falls into Godhome. And, like, wraps around the Godseeker or something like that, right? Oh, I haven't seen this. Godseeker starts bleeding void in the dumpster area. Doesn't that cause, like, big issues? Doesn't that cause, like, huge problems? Where's the other one? I guess I could have probably gone onto one of these, right? Anyway. How Hollow Knight was beat under 5 minutes. It was beaten in 5 minutes. How long is this? 20 minutes? I mean, that's a bit of time, right? Where's just the regular thing? This right here? Is this one good? We'll watch this one. So you just start in the... Oh, okay. So he starts up in Godseeker. Which starts you in Godhome, doesn't it? Godhome, main menu, storage. And... What? We're already... Where are we at? Enters with no clip. What? What? Is this it? It just, like, uses these insanely game-breaking things here? Is this normal? Well, not normal. But is this pretty much what it looks like? You just completely break the spaghetti file code of the game? Okay, where's he gotta go to now? Multiple rooms loaded, camera gets weird. Yeah, I bet. The hell? Casually enter Fog Canyon by just breaking into the game by overlapping the rooms. I'm assuming this fixes once he enters Monomon's place, right? This is just how the game was meant to be played? Yeah, probably right. Probably accurate. This is probably just how the game was supposed to be made. Oh no, is it still not loading things? Oh, it really isn't. Or it is? What the fuck? What? So he just skipped the entire boss fight? He doesn't even fight it? Does he even dream nail it? Bro, he doesn't even have a character anymore. He's just invisible. He kills the same guy 3 times? What? And that counts for all the masks somehow? Because do they just use the same code? That's whack. Yeah, why not just overcharm strength? You're not getting hit anyway. Or if you do, you have all that extra HP. What's it matter, right? Fury build? Does he intend to get to 1 hit? I guess it makes sense because it makes your nails 70% stronger, huh? Get amazing RNG, right, because he jumps up or something like that, right? I mean, technically we're... Oh, I guess we're 438. No, you're not getting the true ending. Damn. Damn, that's crazy. Done like that? That's freaking wild. Alright, where is our lore videos? We said Mossbag Iceberg. Correct? I actually can't even find the chat where you said what videos to watch. It's just called that. Mossbag lore video. Okay. This one? Damn, this is long. Hollow Knight lore is an hour 17 minutes one? That's crazy long that's a lot longer than I thought. We'll probably just go through like the one video, honestly. We'll probably just go through the one video.
On February 24th.
If this is the case. Right? Hey, by the way, this contains
If you were to
spoilers.
ask me, what is your favorite video game ever made? I would have to say Cory in the House for the Nintendo DS.
That looks
But
dope.
Hollow Knight would be a close second.
Close second.
Hollow Knight was
Cory
released
in
on
the
February
House, though.
24th, 2017 by Team Cherry, an indie game studio based in the mythical land of Adelaide, South Australia. Over the past 3 years, Hollow Knight has become an indie darling. The game has sold over 3.5 million copies. It was the opening game at ADGQ 2019.
Can you guys hear it
There's a
okay?
Hollow Knight book, a line of plushies, t-shirts, nicotine
I just realized. Yeah. Sonar's probably pretty quiet, huh?
patches,
Is that
nuclear
good?
warheads, and even vinyl records for all you goddamn hipsters.
For all you
Team Cherry had
freaking
one goal when
hipsters.
making
That's
Hollow
kind of
Knight.
cool. They made
wanted to
two
create a world that
regarding
allowed
both
players
of
to
the
get
full
completely
mask and
lost
the
in
hollowed mask
exploration.
or whatever.
We can
The
see
dark
this
mask.
desire in Hollow Knight's design. The levels in Hollow Knight are massive, with secrets and rewards hidden in every nook and cranny, be that powerful charms, special abilities, or the game's navigation system requires the player to work
Rancid
for their
Egg.
map, forcing them to make
Yes.
a stronger mental image of the world in their head.
Yes, I
Christopher
love
Larkin's score and
going
RPG's
into this
artwork
random
lend to
location
this
for
as
this
well,
item that I'll
creating
never
an
use.
atmosphere that the player won't
awesome.
want to leave. But there's one aspect of Hollow Knight that keeps people like me coming back:
Lore.
the world building.
Yeah. I'll admit, the world building of this game was pretty good.
When Super Metroid launched in 1994,
Oh, we're talking about how it
stood
became a
out for its amazing
Metroidvania?
sense of immersion. Now, in 1994, I was busy not being alive, but I've watched
bad.
enough YouTube video essays to know that this game was a big deal. In case you didn't know, Super Metroid is
I played
basically
this game
the
on release
granddaddy
day.
of all
Truth.
Metroidvanias.
True story.
That's why they're called Metroidvanias. Now, in Super Metroid, there are moments that give the player a sense of depth. Basically, the feeling that this world exists outside of Samus's interactions with it. In the room right before that diabetic crocodile thing, Samus can find the corpse of a random soldier. His inclusion here doesn't change the gameplay at all, but instead gives the player a sense of wonder about the world they are exploring.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who was this guy? Why was he here in the first place?
Hollow Knight does
Did
that
he
a
like
lot.
Jazz? Now,
Hollow Knight
finding
does
dead
that a
bodies
lot.
and other random garbage is pretty cool, right? Well, Hollow Knight basically does the same thing, about a dozen times. Through its world building, Hollow Knight turns Hallownest into a living kingdom. You can sense the ancient history of the land when you look at dilapidated structures or giant barred doors. Nothing feels like it was put into the game randomly. There's a reason for it all. Except those reasons aren't the easiest to uncover. Hollow Knight's narrative is buried under layers of NPC dialogue, item descriptions, lore tablets,
Yeah.
and even additional
I
content
could
like
never
the
understand
Coral Comic
those.
and Fangamer's
I could never
Wanderer's
understand
Journal.
those.
These past 3 years have seen an insane amount of
The
research by the
little
Hollow Knight
weird
community
hidden messages
to make sense of
inside
Team Cherry's sprawling
Monomon's
world.
location.
We've even made it to the point where people are looking at the in-game signs to try and decipher Hallownest's logographic
Things being
language.
dropped.
In this video,
That's
I
kinda
hope to give
cool.
you a long and detailed look into the world of Hollow Knight, exploring Hallownest's history and uncertain
I mean,
future.
If
When
if
I'm
there
not busy
is that
making
sort of meaning
surprisingly
to it, that's
accurate
crazy.
Super Smash Bros. Roster speculation videos, or insightful podcasts about beloved subjects like the Donkey Kong Country television series, or whatever this was supposed to be, I'm
Sonic.
usually making videos about Hollow Knight. And while I
Yeah.
am a seasoned Hollow
It's a
Knight
lot of
lore
Hollow Knight
expert,
videos.
I cannot confirm that every musing or theory presented in this video is completely correct.
Yeah,
I
but
highly
people are just gonna
recommend
take
checking
your
out
word
the
for
lore
it.
section of the Hollow Knight wiki if you want a more neutral explanation of Hollow Knight's lore.
We're just gonna
But if
take
you're
your
too
word
lazy
for it,
to
man.
read,
Yep,
then
there
I
you go.
suggest you sit back, order some Domino's pizza,
No,
or just grab a block of cheese from the fridge
that's not a bad
and enjoy
idea.
the mostly complete lore
Although,
of Hollow Knight.
I'm not eating a block of cheese. Could make
It's
a
a simple
sandwich
fact
though.
of life that every human worships a god, be that technology, ideologies, or in
Nice.
rare cases,
Rick
God.
and Morty.
As it turns out, the bugs in Hallownest pretty much operate in the same way. From the
Right.
mosskin born from the dream of a giant slug, To the emo kids of the ancient
Oh,
civilization
really?
who literally worship the darkness, there is no shortage of things to worship in the world of Hollow Knight.
You even
Our
got
story
blue
begins with a creature
butterflies.
very much worthy of worship. A creature born from the carcass of a worm. The carcass can still be found in the Kingdom's Edge, and it's our only good look at what worms actually looked like.
Which
At the
is
time Hollow Knight
badass,
occurs,
apparently.
it is suggested
They
there
look
are
like
no
tremors.
worms left in the world. They were incredibly long creatures that featured little to no limbs. Another more mysterious property of worms was that they had some kind of prescience or foresight. Basically, they could see the future to some capacity.
Which is
It isn't
interesting.
clear how effective this ability was. Considering how the entire race went extinct, this foresight ability must have been pretty shit. Getting back to this
Okay.
particular worm carcass, it is explained
Fair
that this
enough, I
worm
guess.
traveled across the distant mountains and wastelands beyond Hallownest. Once it arrived in Hallownest, the worm died.
Although probably not. It might have just been completely
Except not
inevitable.
really. Inside the maw of the carcass sits a pale broken egg, out of which hatched a new form of worm, a being of meager shell. This
The
form of
White
the worm is
King.
usually referred to
Or
as the Pale
King.
King, and he's the character basically responsible for everything that happens in Hollow Knight. The Pale King is a higher being,
Ugh.
a type of creature that exists above all others. His body was said to shine with a radiant visage that harmed those who looked upon him. The ultimate goal of the Pale King seemed to be in line with that of other worms. A line from the cryptic Mr. Mushroom reads, "Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till ages pass and kingdoms fall." In other words, it's just in their nature.
So,
Dogs wag their tails, cats bury their shit, and worms bring massive amounts of bugs into their service in order to form long-standing kingdoms and civilizations.
so he's just Mr.
And
Popular
here in a far
right
corner
off
of the
bat.
world, the Pale King emerged from the corpse of his former self and began to build
He
his
just shows
eternal
up and
kingdom,
everyone else is just like, yeah,
Hallownest.
hey,
There's
this is
just
cool.
one slight problem. There's like people already living there.
Mantises.
The area that would eventually become Hallownest was already
And the
filled with
spiders.
mantises, bees, moths,
Oh, the bees.
spiders,
Moths.
mushrooms, and bush cosplayers.
I guess I didn't think about any
Each of these
those
groups
guys.
were already operating with their own cultures and societies.
Kind of only
and
thought
each
about
group
the
had a
intelligent
different
ones,
interaction
which
with
was
the
the
Pale
mantises,
King.
the spiders.
One of the more receptive groups to the arrival
I
of
guess
the
the
Pale
moths
King
is correct
were
as
the
well.
mushrooms of the fungal wastes. These creatures were able to communicate with one another through one shared mind.
That's right.
The mushrooms viewed this shared mind as a strength, and they were kind of smug dickheads about it. Ultimately, the mushrooms wearily accepted the Pale King's rule, viewing his foresight as a shield to the dangers of the future.
Which
Another group living in the fungal wastes
Apparently
is
didn't
the
work out
Mantis
for them.
tribe. The Mantises have a rich cultural history reaching back to long before the birth of Hallownest. The Mantises are a proud tribe, believing in the importance of proving one's physical strength. The Mantises are fiercely territorial, but will show respect to those who display great power. These Fight Club
Oh,
enthusiasts
I'm
were
so
led by
stupid. Those
four
are all
powerful
masks of,
Mantis
like, dead
lords,
people and
who
stuff
I
that
guess
the
just kind of
Mantises
sat
just
around
killed.
waiting for outsiders to challenge them. The Mantis tribe had no interest in the Pale King's kingdom, but the two communities did come to a truce.
I find it
In exchange
interesting
for
that
their
there is
independence from
actually another
Hallownest,
mantis
the
totem
Mantis
for
tribe kept
the
beasts of
traitor.
Deep Nest from invading
That
Hallownest.
is a cool thing.
Not
to
sure
think
why they
about.
didn't just go out the other exits from Deep Nest, but whatever. I'm not an expert on Border Patrol. I don't work at ICE anymore. Let's move on to Deep Nest. Now,
ICE
many of the
probably
different
pays good.
tribes of Hallownest were kind enough to leave lore tablets behind, detailing pretty much everything we need to know
Wild
about
time to
them.
talk about this though, right? 5
Unfortunately,
years
the bugs
ago,
of Deep Nest
ICE is a
didn't do
big
that.
subject now
We
today.
know
That's
that
for
the
sure.
spiders of Deep Nest had a monarchy because why not? Those are always good, right?
Yeah.
Also, within Deep Nest are a separate group of spiders that immigrated to Deep Nest at some point in the past. This group was known as the Weavers, and they established their own culture and history
They
within Deep
destroyed
Nest.
it when the sister turned
They
to the
used
Radiance
looms of silk
restraint.
to weave
Oh, is that what
stories,
happened? She
spells,
turned to the
and
Radiance
shields.
and got
One thing
corrupted
we know
or
for
whatever.
sure about Deep Nest is that they really didn't want anything to do with Hallownest.
Got infected.
The struggles of Deep Nest Hallownest relations would become painfully clear as time goes on, but for right now, it seems like the two remained fairly isolated from one
Interesting.
another. Another section of pre-Hallownest includes Green Path. Now, as far as we can tell, the mushrooms, mantises,
Green
and spiders
Path.
of Deep Nest didn't worship any higher beings.
They're
There
like
is this
the
giant
slug.
mushroom corpse in the fungal core, but I don't think this is a higher being. I mean, who the hell would want to worship a fat-ass mushroom? Fat-ass slugs? Now that's dope.
Now that's
The
dope.
land we know as Green
Yep.
Path was created by the higher being known as Un. Un used her great mind to dream the vegetation of Green Path into the once barren caverns. Un's followers, the Mosskin, were also born out of Un's dream. making her their creator. Greenpath at its height
She's
was
still
actually
in
much
control, but
larger
the
than we
Radiance
see
still
in
has her.
game.
She was a pretty
At one
easy
point,
boss
Greenpath
fight.
stretched into both modern-day Queen's Garden and possibly Fog Canyon.
Radiance kind
Greenpath's
of
citizens showed
scammed
themselves
her.
to be a fairly developed society. They built a temple at the Lake of Un in order to worship her, and they even had their own line of defense, with Moss Knights showing proficiency in combat, using nails and shells as weapons. The Law of Un continued to remain in effect even after the Pale King arrived, but it seems like they allowed the king to establish a road through their lands, leading travelers to the heart of Hallownest. Hence
Yeah,
the
I
name
didn't catch
Greenpath.
much of on the Law
Team
of
Cherry
Un.
really racked their brains when naming this area, didn't they?
They did.
Next, we
They
have the
did.
bees.
It's too
And
true.
while there is no lore on how these bees can
Much
turn
like
into
Dark
fucking
Abyss.
drills, or how they can ignore all known
Yeah, that
laws of
part
aviation, we do
straight
know
up
how they reacted to the
pisses me
Pale
off.
King. These bugs
No.
decided to steal their hive off from the rest of the world, with only patrol bees being able to enter and exit the hive. So yeah, the bees are pretty much pointless in this story. And
They don't do
finally we
nothing.
have the moth tribe.
Bees
In-game,
just on the
the only
side
moth
characters.
settlement is in the resting grounds, but the tribe might have also inhabited the Crystal Peak at one point. Now, as we all know, moths in real life are just complete assholes. As for the moths in
True.
Hollow Knight, well, it's a bit complicated.
They're dreamers.
The moth race is described as being a rather pacifist group, with few ever choosing to take up a weapon. During the Pale King's reign, the moth race delved amongst
And
dreams
then there's
and the
Markov.
dead, displaying the importance of remembering those who have passed, as well as learning how to shape dreams themselves. Similar to the Mothskin, the Moth tribe was born from a higher being known as the Radiance. The Radiance is described as being a light in which the Moth tribe
So that's
basked.
literally where the moths
So
come
she was
from?
basically a giant lamp to them. Another important aspect about the Radiance is her ties to dreams and a substance known as essence.
I didn't think she
Essence
had
are the
that big of a
remains
tie to
wishes
them.
and dreams, and are represented in-game by these dreamcatcher particle effects.
Yeah.
Essence can take the form of whispering roots, as well as dream ghosts, both of which are memories taking root in the world. The Radiance appears to be a creature made of essence, but she isn't the only higher being to give off essence. Un has green particles, the Pale King has gray particles, and this sexy character named Grim gives off fiery red particles.
So is he
However,
also
the Radiance appears to
a
be
moth?
the main god
Is Grim
when it
also
comes
a
to
moth?
dreams, even if other gods also dabble in the dream
What is
realm.
Grim?
Getting back to the Moth tribe,
What sort of bug is
it
he?
is their interaction with the Pale King that we need to discuss. Basically, the Moths turned their backs on the Radiance completely in order to worship the new light that had appeared, the Pale King's light. So yeah, Moths are assholes in this game too. With her
Nice.
tribe forsaking her, the Radiance became
Expected.
a forgotten memory, a remnant of the past, and a thing that's definitely not going to come up again later in this video.
Not at all.
And so
Not
the Pale
needed.
King's new kingdom was established, Hallownest. But there is one aspect of Hallownest that we need to discuss. Unfortunately, to better understand this, we're going to have to read some poetry.
Darn
In
it.
Wilds Beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we changed. Base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. This is from a poem titled Elegy for Hallownest, written by Modemon the Teacher.
Isn't that the one
The poem
in
appears at
City
the
of
beginning
Tears?
of every playthrough, and
Oh, at
hints
the
at what the
beginning
Pale
of
King and his
playthrough.
kingdom offered. Much of the land outside of Hallownest
Yeah.
appears to be a wasteland, where bugs survive off of instinct, without the burden of mind.
Would have been really
Hallownest
interesting
somehow
to see
taught these bugs
what
and tamed
caused
their
that
savagery.
wasteland.
Basically, the Pale King changed the
I
instincts
guess
of
the
his
only
subjects
theory is
and
the
granted them
Thunderland
higher
or whatever.
thought. To get a better picture of this, let's look at two different
land of
characters,
thunder.
Boone and Tuck. These
Who's
adorable
Boone?
panda bug things give us a clear display of Hallownest's effect. While both appear to be the same species of bug, Boone is dumb as a sack of rocks, struggling to string together words, while Tuck speaks fairly clearly. The main difference between these two
Tuck just likes
characters
food.
is that while Boone lives outside of Hallownest, Tuck lives beneath the city's capital. Basically, it appears as though Hallownest is a literal holy ground that raises the intelligence of those who dwell within.
That's kind of cool.
The Pale King established a path, starting from the kingdom's entrance in King's
So as
Pass,
soon as I entered
winding through Green Path and the
that
Fungal
place,
Wastes,
that was
and
like
finally
literally
ending
my
at
first
the massive
thought.
capital at Hallownest's heart.
It's kind of unique.
We now know the capital city as the City of Tears, but that was likely not its original name. The rain that falls down onto the city from the blue lake above didn't begin until after the kingdom collapsed. So unless the capital was originally named by some edgy literature student, the name City of Tears wouldn't have made much sense.
It had to have a different
The
name
king's
back
motivation for all this appears to have been his desire to be worshipped. The citizens of Hallownest believe that the Pale King created the world and everything in it. Shrines to the king can be found scattered throughout the kingdom, and king's idols were created and distributed to followers of the king. Despite the worship, the Pale King often kept himself hidden from his subjects, possibly to hide his blemishes. I mean, if you look at the size of the real Pale King to his statue in the ancient basin, the man is clearly overcompensating. The Pale King's White Palace was also built underneath the city, separating him from his subjects even more so. At the same time, certain powers became shunned in Hallownest, though we don't know for sure if the Pale King had anything to do with this. Lifeblood is a blue liquidy substance that leaves those who drink it feeling refreshed.
Snail shamans.
However, the use of lifeblood was seen as a taboo, and those who used it were demonized as heretics.
So
the use of soul for combat was also shunned. Soul is a sort of life force in Hollow Knight that animates the bodies of living creatures. But some characters are able to control the soul of others to conjure powerful spirits. But aside from a few exceptions, no citizens of Hallownest ever use this power. However, the Pale King didn't rule alone. There was another higher being in the mix.
What exactly is she?
Known
a
as
root?
the White Lady. The White Lady is a weird
I keep on hearing root,
that can be found
but
in
every time I see her, I always
gardens.
think of like a lizard
She is
snake
encased
almost.
in a strange cocoon, and we know very little about her. With as much exposition we get for the Pale King, there is next to nothing on the White Lady. But one thing we do know is that she likes to breed. Like, a lot. The White Lady would often retreat to the Queen's Gardens, an area of land once controlled by the Moss Kid.
Addictive and kind of
How exactly she walked around and actually went places is a lore question too deep for even my expertise.
Yeah, like what?
The White Lady is also known as a pale being, along with the Pale King. What exactly are pale beings? Well, we don't know for sure, but they seem to stand out even amongst higher beings as being even more powerful. I know that's a little confusing, so let's try using an example. I'd say that regular higher beings are like a TP-Link Archer C7 AC1750 wireless dual-band gigabit router, while pale beings are like the Asus RT-AX88U AX6000 dual-band 8X gigabit Wi-Fi router. Under the Pale King, Hallownest underwent a bit of an industrial revolution.
Okay.
He ordered the construction of the stagways, which were used to transport passengers and goods.
Doesn't make much
crossroads
sense.
And the
It's not making sense to me.
Tears were used to store goods
I have a modem
along these stagways.
I have like a
the king
weak
also
little
ordered the
modem
construction of the
and
tramways because literally no one is safe from the threat of
that
automation.
goes to my bedroom.
A tram was built between the Forgotten Crossroads and the resting grounds. A second tram was built from the kingdom's edge across the ancient basin over to Deepnest. And then a third tram was started in Deepnest and attempted to go further into Deepnest. Not sure how useful that would have been to the bugs of Hallownest, but whatever. The Pale King's a smart guy, I'm not gonna question him. But anyway, the Pale King's super smart plan to build a tram in Deepnest ended up getting a few of his tram workers killed.
Did he really just sit there and die?
The bugs of Deepnest rejected the Pale King's attempt to build a tram in their territory, further cementing the poor relations shared between the two groups. Aside from convenient fast travel, regular pathways were also used to cart goods around the kingdom. From this was born probably one of the most important groups in Hallownest, and perhaps even all of fiction. An elusive guild of bugs, simply known as the Menderbugs, took to maintaining the various signs scattered throughout Hallownest. From the journal entry of one Menderbug, we can catch a glimpse into their ancient and unknowable minds.
Dear, dear diary, isn't life just the most beautiful thing? Fixing signs, mending posts, let them break, I say. I'm a better mender for all that repairing. I sometimes doubt there's a single bug in all of Hallownest happier than me.
Another example of the Pale King's expanding
like 20 affairs
infrastructure
with 20 different
is the
people.
Crystal Peak.
No.
This area is filled with crystals
that can't be
grow
true.
rapidly
Just
along
the
walls,
spider,
ceilings, and even the
just
shells
the spider
of certain bugs.
and the root.
These
right?
crystals were
That's
considered valuable to the bugs of Hallownest, resulting in large-scale mining efforts. We don't actually see the crystals used anywhere else in Hallownest, but they are said to contain a sort of energy. The crystals are also said to sing if you listen very carefully.
Nice. Hey, I get this one.
In terms of military,
I heard that one
Hallinest's
before.
first line of defense appeared to be a group simply known as the Five Great Knights. The members of this esteemed coalition were Ogrim, Hagamol, Emyer, Drya, and Isma. For being so important, most of the information about these knights has been lost to time. Ogrim is the knight we know the most about, since he is one of the few knights still alive during the events of the game.
Yeah.
Ogrim expressed
Ogrim's
a great
just
amount of
sadly
loyalty towards
depressed.
the king, and he maybe had something going on with Isma, but we really don't know.
He dreams
Hagamol
of
was known
Isma,
for his
doesn't
sense
he?
of humor and his soft-spoken voice, but at the same time, he was also dummy thick. Mysterious Emyer arrived in Hallinest from a serene land, bringing with her a collection of delicate flowers. At
Yes.
some point, she also got into a relationship with a mantis, but not just any mantis, a daughter of one of the mantis lords.
Crazy.
So yeah, it seems like these great knights were slain.
It'd be interesting
in more
to
ways
find
than
out how
one.
that daughter
All we really know about
perished.
Drya is that she was fierce, caring, and
She
wise.
perished in the fight with
As for Isma, she was described
Queen's
as
Garden?
being kind. She also appears to be some
does
sort
dream
of
of all of
weird
them, I guess
plant
that's
life
true.
form,
But he like
but
says
there's no
her
information on
name
where
like
she's from or
specifically.
what her powers were. The Five Great Knights play an important role in the Champion's Call, the Knotted Grove, and the Battle of the Black Worm. We have no idea what these events were or how they affected Hallinest, but they sound cool nonetheless.
Sure.
During Hallinest's reign, there was another strange area that seemed to exist separate from the Pale King's rule.
The
Carved out of
Colosseum
the
of
corpse of an ancient
Fools.
bug, an area called the Colosseum of Fools was constructed, and it was a destination for warriors from outside Hallinest.
Yes,
The
I
sole
think I am
purpose for
aware of
fighting in
that
the
because there's
Colosseum
the
appeared
grave
to
of the
be
traitor.
simply for glory, with a mysterious figure known as the Lord Fool overseeing the combat. We don't know when the Colosseum was constructed or if the Pale King was involved, but one of his servants, the Pale Lurker, became a champion in the
Forgot about this
Colosseum,
character.
perhaps indicating the Pale King's approval. And finally, there was the Royal Waterways,
I
where
forgot
the
about
fecal
that character.
excrement of the kingdom
He
was
just runs
washed
away
out
from
into
you.
the
He's kind of
fungal
annoying to
wastes.
fight.
This area saw the rise of a species of parasite-like creatures called the flukes. The flukes
how'd those
spawned from
start?
the fluke marm, a giant monster with cavities in which tinier flukes live. There really isn't too much lore involved with the flukes, but I do need to point out that the fluke marm is canonically a MILF. Like, that's not even debatable. The sky is blue, 2 + 2 = 4, and we all want to fuck this thing.
No.
And so this was the kingdom of Hallinest at its height. Hallinest was
No,
a
I never
vast
thought
kingdom
about
connected
that.
by a
I
network
never
of
thought about
stagways
it.
and tram stations.
Damn, you guys,
The bugs
you
of
Hollow Knight
Hallinest mourned
gamers
their
are a
dead on
bunch
the
of
resting
gooners.
grounds,
What the fuck?
engaged in commerce using Geo, the de facto currency of the region, and a thriving capital located in the middle of the kingdom. The Pale King had succeeded in crafting a full-blown society, but we all know there are pitfalls to living in a society.
We live
As
in
a
a
suspiciously
society.
knowledgeable hunter points out in his journal, the Pale King
Is
had
that what the
created a
hunter looks like
population
when you
of
get all
weak
of his
and
stuff?
pathetic creatures. The bugs of Hallinest did not hunt for their own food and had become complacent with their comfort. This is even more obvious with the east wing of the capital. These greedy members of Hallinest's high society became complete cowards, obsessed with riches and plum from excess wealth. The bugs living in Hallinest's prime looked quite different than the instinctive simpletons they once were. Their savagery had been replaced with intelligence, and through that intellect, they gave the Pale King the devotion and service he desired. And while there were a few snags along the way, they were shining times for the king and his subjects. Resting at the threshold of Hallinest is a strange lore tablet, proclaiming Hallinest to be the last and only civilization. It calls Hallinest an eternal
Which
kingdom.
I think
This
is
appears to
technically
have been the
wrong.
Pale King's goal, for Hallinest to stand against a wasted world as a final beacon for civilization.
Should
And
technically
that
be
was the
wrong.
Pale King's ultimate folly, to think that he could succeed where so many others had failed before. Long before the Pale
I mean, hey,
Kings
that's
or
what
the Barry
everyone wants to
Bensons
think,
of the
right?
world, the land of Hallinest was controlled by an ancient caste. Hints of Hallinest's history are littered throughout the land, with the most notable examples being the soul totems and arcane eggs.
Those are literature?
One sect of these ancient bugs didn't worship a god like the Pale King or any lord, but instead a dark and mysterious substance known as the Void. This ancient caste once also tried to lay claim to the entire land of Hallinest.
Are you telling me that
but
those
they
are just
too
bugs?
failed. In his quest to
They're not
conquer all of
statues?
Hallinest, the Pale King had made an enemy long forgotten, an enemy that was about to be remembered. I mentioned
I
earlier
even
that the
read the
Moth tribe
descriptions?
entirely
Probably not all
forgot
of
about the
them.
Radiants in order to worship the Pale King, but that isn't quite true. Memories of her still lingered, and hushed whispers of faith kept the Radiants alive. At the summit of the Crystal Peak, a location known as Hallownest Crown, a strange collection of glyphs can be found.
They're just statues.
Joining these glyphs is a statue of the Radiants, presiding over the kingdom below. This old summit is the sole standing shrine left to the Radiants. This was built in order to keep the memory of the Radiants alive. The Radiants' light began to appear in the dreams of Hallownest citizens. This light manifested itself in an infection that ravaged through the kingdom's tunnels. Those infected would fall into a deep sleep and awaken with broken minds. Some of the lesser bugs tried to resist the Radiance's light, which only resulted in them being consumed by it even more so.
That's interesting.
Many infected bugs lost their wills and began attacking bugs that weren't infected. The infection also twisted the bodies of its hosts, causing them to bloat and occasionally develop orange cysts on their bodies. For many victims, they were reverted back to their basic instincts, carrying out the duties they once fulfilled in life, but now as mindless slaves. Those caught up in the infection were linked into the Radiance's hive mind, allowing her to control their bodies if needed. As the infection spread across...
So it's not that that guy actually did like having the Radiance in him. It's just that he was infected and was like, hey guys, this is some good stuff.
Hallownest, many groups looked to solutions to fight off the Radiance's light. The gates to the City of Tears were closed in an attempt to keep the infection from reaching the city.
I don't believe it.
The stagways were also shut down at some point, and many of the stags eventually died out, but some took more proactive efforts against the infection. The scholars of the Soul Sanctum decided to harness the power of Soul in an attempt to fight the infection. This resulted in the deaths of hundreds of bugs, whose souls were sucked out and injected into the bodies of the scholars. Their goal was to achieve some kind of pure focus, which would somehow protect them from plagues of the mind. The scholars' leader, the Soul Master, was driven mad by the sheer power of Soul, and his entire sect failed to avoid infection. But hey, at least they took as many innocent people down with them as they could. The Mantis tribe, showing a stronger will than the common bug, were able to stave off the infection. However, one of the 4 Mantis Lords turned against his sisters. He and his followers took in the infection willingly, as it gave them more strength and courage. At some point during all this, the Traitor Lord and his followers were exiled from the Mantis village, eventually taking up residence in the Queen's Gardens. The Traitor Lord's daughter ended up dying at some point. This is the same Mantis that was in a relationship with Emyer, one of the 5 great knights. But the Mantises rejected their union because of Emyer's outsideness. As a gamer, this type of prejudice is all too familiar, and honestly, it makes me sick.
That is quite the gamer setup. With the 5 great knights
completely useless to fight against the infection, the Pale King devised his own scheme. A scheme involving a strange substance known as void.
Well, they were calling him Hit.
As I mentioned earlier, the Pale King's White Palace was built in an area called the Ancient Basin, but his castle wasn't the only noteworthy thing down there. At the bottom of the Ancient Basin was the entrance to a pit known as the Abyss. Within the Abyss was a lake composed of void. The Pale King realized that this void could be given form, as evidenced by an imprint of such deep within the Abyss. Possibly left there by the ancient civilization that predated Hallownest.
What exactly does that do?
The Pale King devised a workshop in his palace, where he placed void in armor shells imbued with soul,
That's what it is.
creating servants known as King's Molds and Wing Molds. These void creatures were somehow imprinted with the desire of the Pale King, so that they would serve him.
Is that the same look as the Collector?
When the Pale King started making these creatures, there is evidence to imply that even common bugs were aware of King's Molds. But the point is, the Pale King turned to the void in order to create another creature, one that he believed could contain the Radiance and her infection. He tried to create a pure vessel.
Collector is void.
I mean, needs its host to have a will and a mind
just from one of the King's molds.
It. A pure vessel would be a creature made of void, designed to lack those features. The Pale King believed that by harnessing the void inside a pure vessel, he would be able to stop the infection and keep Hallownest lasting eternal. But his method for creating this so-called pure vessel was incredibly cruel. This is where the White Lady and her King Kong-sized libido come into play.
True.
These two higher beings engaged
She was
in a
having
union
it.
of some
She was
kind,
having it
resulting in the
crazy.
creation of several eggs that were dropped down into the abyss. There, the void seeped into these eggs, corrupting the offspring of the Pale King and the White Lady. This act resulted in the creation of the vessels. The vessels are not technically considered to be alive. They are shells created from the Pale King and White Lady that have been filled with the void. Within each vessel is a shade, a completely void being hidden behind the face of the vessel. Vessels are also non-gendered, I guess because they're dead or something. I'm not sure if that's how that works, but
I guess.
whatever.
They're just
I'm not an
ghosts.
expert on these kinds of things. I don't work at ICE anymore. Thousands of vessels were created during this process, but only one was chosen as the pure vessel.
The Hollow Knight.
This particular vessel, chosen by the Pale King, was
How did
deemed
he
the
grow?
Hollow Knight, and was taken away to the White Palace. But I want to take a bit of a closer look at this part of the story. There are a number of questions and theories surrounding this moment that I really want to dig into. The big question surrounding this moment is, why was the Hollow Knight chosen over any other vessel? One common theory is that the Pale King took these vessels back to the White Palace and evaluated
He just
them
got
using
big.
his giant collection of buzzsaws. This theory is probably
Did
the
maybe
least
the,
likely explanation.
No,
It
because he has
kinda
armor.
exists just to explain the buzzsaws, which is quite the mystery, I'll admit.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
But
We're
it
talking about the
exists
buzzsaws?
to the White any other vessel. One common theory is that the Pale King took these vessels back to the White Palace and evaluated them using his giant collection of buzzsaws.
That makes sense.
This theory is probably the least likely explanation.
Yeah.
It kinda exists just to explain the buzzsaws, which is quite the mystery, I'll admit, but doesn't really mesh with the vessels very well. How
Guess
does
so.
being good at Super Meat Boy prove that you are a worthy vessel? And while thinking about logistics in a game about magic bugs is never a good idea, how exactly did the Pale King transfer these thousands of vessels to his palace without characters like the Dung Defender finding out? So this means
Fair
that the Pale
enough.
King probably made his decision without taking any of the vessels out of the abyss. So how did the Pale King make his evaluation? I think the best
You had to
explanation comes from a
climb.
theory I originally heard from a user named Golden Flower Fan. Basically, the vessels were hatched down at the bottom of the abyss, and the first one to make it to the top was chosen by the Pale King. In a memory of this event, we see vessels falling from above back down into the pit of the
So
abyss.
many.
Perhaps these vessels weren't being cast down into the abyss, but fell while trying to escape out of it. The lore tablet outside the abyss appears to support this theory. It reads, "Our pure vessel has ascended. Beyond lies only the
Gave him
refuse and
armor and
regret
sealed
of
him
its
up with the
creation.
radiance.
We shall enter
What I
that
think
place
is
no longer."
interesting
This tablet was likely
is
written
just him
right
growing
after the
still,
Hollow Knight was
right?
chosen.
I was gonna make the
considering
theory
that
that
is
the
when the
radiance
entrance to
probably
the
like
abyss
made
was
him
sealed
grow
off.
big because
The
infection
tablet
does that.
proclaims that the
But
pure
then I was
vessel
like, no, he has
ascended,
armor. So I
or
just
in
don't know
other
how he
words,
got big.
climbed out of the abyss. And while cut content should never be considered canon, I would just like to point out that an earlier version of this tablet,
While it
found in the
should
game's
never be
code,
canon,
was even more explicit about this.
I
It
will say
read,
it's been 8
"From
years.
below, our pure vessel has ascended." But how does making it to the top of the abyss first prove that the Hollow Knight is somehow a perfectly hollow vessel? Well, I think this whole concept might just be a
He's big without
misconception.
radiance, yeah.
What if the Hollow Knight wasn't any different from the other vessels? All the vessels were made in the exact same way after all.
True.
The idea that the Hollow Knight was somehow more hollow than the other vessels comes from the fact that there were so many vessels created in the first place. If they only needed one, then why create so goddamn many? I mean,
make
this
sure
is
you
like
get the right one,
Octomom
you know?
on steroids. Well, these are bugs we're talking about, so it would make sense
Guess
that
that's
multiple
fair.
offspring would come from one egg.
You get like 60.
And it might have been a precaution to produce multiple vessels in hopes that at least one would be able to successfully escape the abyss.
Which it's
Now
clear
another
that a
explanation
lot
could
of
be
them
that the
were
Pale
really
King
bad
just
at getting
yeeted
out.
other vessels that made it to the top first, after determining that they weren't hollow, which would better explain why so many were created. Ultimately, the exact details aren't super important, but I do find it interesting how
I
many
thought
different
all the vessels were
interpretations
created
can
hollow.
be pulled
That
from
doesn't
this
make
part
much
of the
sense.
lore. After the Hollow Knight was chosen, the Pale King sealed the doorway to the abyss, leaving the discarded vessels to rot away in darkness. These actions were not taken lightly by the Pale King or the White Lady. Both
Hollow means no
participants expressed
emotion.
shame in what they did, but saw no other option to save the kingdom. But the vessels weren't the only poor saps sealed away in the abyss. There's also a lighthouse that was built on top of a naturally formed spire, its light shining down on an ocean of abyss below. Inside was one of the Pale King's royal retainers, who was left in charge of keeping the lighthouse turned on. So this brave soul was willingly sealed in a dark and dangerous tomb for the rest of his life, just so he could not pull a lever. Well, at least he was living with purpose.
That's
With the abyss sealed and the Hollow Knight chosen,
no reason.
the Pale King's plan was beginning to come together. The Hollow Knight was raised and trained to prime form, causing it to grow several times its original size. We don't know exactly why this happened, but I guess
Yeah,
the
how
Hollow
come
Knight
I
is just a
didn't grow?
grower, not a shower.
okay.
We know that the Hollow Knight was trained to use a nail, but why was this even necessary? One possible explanation is that the Hollow Knight needed to protect itself in case an intruder tried to kill it. You know, like the player. Or perhaps this was important in the process of containing the Radiance.
Probably had to fight the Radiance before
Unfortunately, the
containing
details
it,
of that
right?
are never fully explained.
It's not like they just
The
like
Hollow Knight
told
might
the
have
Radiance to
somehow
come over for
focused the
tea.
Radiance inside itself, but Team Cherry gives us no explanation of how that might have worked. But that still wasn't enough for the Pale King. Additional seals were needed in order to protect the Hollow Knight's physical body while the Radiance was trapped inside of it. To achieve this, the Pale King sought the help of 3 particular bugs, who would later be known as the Dreamers: Lurien the Watcher, Motomon the Teacher, and Hera the Beast. Lurien is definitely the most mysterious of the 3 Dreamers. He lived in the Watcher's Spire in the City of Tears.
Looking at
From
pretty
there,
much nothing.
Lurien watched over the city with his telescope.
No, that telescope
Lurien was
just
a
has
pretty
a
big fan of the
thing
king,
of,
so it probably took
of a
little
building. When I
convincing for
looked
him to
through
lie
it,
down
telescope
for him.
didn't have LUTs.
Lurien might also be tied to another strange incident that occurred in the City of Tears. Hidden on some of Lurien's lore tablets are images of jars, the same jars that can be found stockpiled in the Tower of Love. This building sits on the outskirts of the city, and is the setting of one of the most bizarre bosses in the game, the Collector. The Collector is a void construct
Did
that
Lurien
appears to have
have
been made
ties
from
with
the
the
same
Collector?
mold used to create the King's molds. But the Collector is unique because, well,
Good grief, he's naked!
Yes.
the Collector stayed in the Tower of Love with a noble bug who likely owned the establishment. In the tower, a number of bugs can be found captured in jars, implying that these two were tasked with collecting these creatures. However, the Collector somehow became obsessed with grubs, creating a
just
map to keep track of
loves the
grubs it
faces
captured
of
in
these
jars,
grubs.
as well as keeping a strange shrine displaying a grub in the style of the Vitruvian Man. Eventually, the
just
bug staying with
loved
the
the
Collector
grubs.
decided to lock it inside the Tower of Love, and fled to the
eat
Queen's
grubs.
Gardens, where it died.
Of course, don't eat them.
Likely
Don't eat
due
them.
to
They'll eat you from the
overexposure to
inside
the
out.
void.
Don't eat grubs.
Despite being locked up in the
Just leave
tower,
them.
the Collector is still spotted by the Hunter at some point,
Which is
which
interesting.
either means this only happened recently, or the Hunter has been farting around in Hallownest for a long-ass time.
Which is also
We have no idea
probably
what
a
these creatures
case
were trying to
because
do.
He was putting
It's implied
grubs
that the Collector
around
was
the
trying to
world.
preserve the creatures of Hallownest, perhaps trying to protect them from the spread of the infection.
I could see
But
that.
we don't know where the Collector's obsession with grubs originated.
Just
And
really
while
likes
Lurien does
grubs.
seem connected to all of this, we don't know how involved he was with this operation, or what its end goal exactly was. Motomon the Teacher lived in the Teacher's Archives, a library built atop a lake of acid in the Fog Canyon. The lower half of her body consists of tentacles, making her a popular subject for the thriving Hollow Knight R34 community.
Oh no,
The archives and the
no!
Fog Canyon as a whole are also filled with these strange Metroid
I'm gonna have to look that up
knockoffs.
afterward. I'm just kidding.
These creatures are likely related to Monomon in
joking.
some way. They could be her live offspring, her test tube babies, or possibly even her shit.
Which is
Motomon
wild.
uses futuristic cathode ray tube things to store information about Hallownest. Several terminals in the Teacher's Archive go into detail about the Pale King's
her
plan
terminal
to
stuff
defeat
was
the
really
Radiance,
confusing.
indicating
Really
that Motomon had
confusing.
intimate knowledge of what she was taking part in. Finally, the Pale King sought the help of Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deepnest.
It does make
Now,
sense,
as I
doesn't
mentioned
it?
earlier, relations between Hallownest and Deepnest
all
were
adding up
kinda not great.
Yeah.
Unlike the other two dreamers, Hera needed to be convinced in order to help the Pale King. Hera would eventually agree to
Which
become
took
a
some
dreamer
mad
in
smashing.
exchange for a child. The
Yep.
Pale King agreed,
Dang,
and
I
the
was
two
right.
engaged in a
That's insane.
dalliance, which is a fancy way of saying they totally boned.
Yeah.
The White Lady was okay with this arrangement, In fact, she might have been watching from the closet. The motive
Eek.
behind Hera's request is never elaborated on, but it appears as though the King of Deep Nest was dead at this point. Hera was a common bug, so perhaps she desired the Pale King's pale seed so that her child could be of high birth.
That's interesting
The
to think
bargain
about.
between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet. She became known as the gendered child because, unlike the Pale King's
Not
other
me calling
children,
her gendered.
Hornet was not hollowed out by the Abyss. Hera and Hornet spent little time together.
Well, that's because
as
Hera
Hera
was
had to make
just
good on her end of the bargain.
born in deepness.
And so the three dreamers were put to rest. Through their actions, a seal was placed over the black egg, prohibiting entrance into the chamber. These dreamers also had their own protection. At the base of Lurian's spire, the Watcher Knights guarded access to their master's body.
It would have been way interesting.
Motomon's
There's
body
way
was
more than
protected by a
5
giant
there.
jellyfish named Umu. On top of this, Motomon entrusted
Like,
her
imagine
servant
walking
Quirrell
into that
with a
room and
mask
they're
which
all
would be
awake, not
required
just
to
the
break
5.
an additional seal she had
Or
placed
whatever,
over
right?
herself. So she basically is double wrapping herself. As for Hera, we're not really sure what protected her, since it is never actually seen in-game.
Yeah, the
We don't know where
trilobite
this
looks
creature is
interesting.
hiding, but whoever it is, they really suck at their job. Now there appears to be one more element to the Pale King's plan, involving the Weavers. Hidden away in the Weaver's Den is an incomplete seal of binding, woven from silk. This design prominently features the Hollow Knight's head, and can be
Crypt
found in
finally
the
doing
White
his job.
Palace, as well as blocking the exit during the Hollow Knight fight. Silk spools created by the Weavers can be found in the Stag Station in Deep Nest, as well as the Stag Station next to the White Palace.
Oh,
These spools
that's
can
an
also be
interesting
found in
thought.
the
I
Pale
didn't think
King's
those
workshop.
were spools.
We know that the Weavers were closely tied to Hera and Hornet, so their actions might have been a part of the deal between the Pale King and Hera. Once the Hollow
That's
Knight was ready,
interesting.
the Radiance was somehow channeled into the vessel, which was then placed inside of a giant black egg located in the Forgotten Crossroads. This egg was
Why-
built to sustain the Hollow Knight, and itself appears to be fashioned from void.
Why was the
Hollow Knight
black
was
egg
chained
so,
up, and the
like...
entrance to the black egg was locked behind a powerful seal created by the three dreamers.
Why was the black egg
Initially,
so quick
this
to
convoluted
find?
plan
Why wouldn't it be,
actually
like,
worked,
hidden?
And the infection was successfully contained. Memorials to the Hollow Knight and the
Is it
Dreamers
just
were
because of
erected
the
in the Sea
memorial
of
things?
Tears and the resting grounds. But this is the part of the story where things get a little bit hazy.
Because we jump
By the
100
time
years.
these statues were constructed, citizens had taken to writing on parchment woven from spider silk, which was all destroyed when water started pouring down onto the city. We don't know how long the Hollow Knight was able to completely contain the infection. Bugs from Dirtmouth used to go to the Temple of the Black Egg to pray, saying they felt at
I
peace
guess it's
within
just
the
so that they
walls.
could pray.
But after a while, they stopped going, perhaps indicating that the infection was beginning to leak out again. The infectious air continued to seep through Halnest for years, eventually even reaching the deepest parts of the kingdom. As it turns out, the Pale King's pure vessel wasn't quite so pure after all.
Because they
The Hollow Knight
bonded.
had been tarnished by an idea instilled. While the game never explicitly tells us what that idea was, it does hint strongly at what it might be. Hidden away in the White Palace is a
Yeah.
memory showing the Hollow Knight and the Pale King sharing a moment.
They bonded.
The Hollow Knight might have developed a parental bond to the Pale King. And who could blame it? The Pale King is a pretty great dad after all.
Such a
You
good
know,
dad.
if you ignore the infanticide and
No,
everything.
no.
Remember
No,
those
he's a good
smug
dad.
mushroom dickheads? Well, it turns out their trust in the Pale King was a complete mistake. That shared mind isn't looking too good now, is it? In the
No,
fungal
that's why
core,
they're
the
all
corpse of
terrified
a
when you
giant
see 'em.
mushroom lies dormant. Its final thoughts were,
They
"Pale
stopped
worm,
praying. That's why the
what
infection
good to see a
started.
demise unavoidable?"
Now
This
I
could
get
imply
it.
that the Pale King always knew that his kingdom was doomed. All he could do was delay the inevitable. This is likely the moment when Halnest, as it once was, entirely collapsed. The Hollow Knight had not
Kinda
completely
sad.
stopped the infection, and while it may have taken a while, Halnest was eventually brought low. It's at this point that characters and areas begin to resemble as we know them in-game. When it became clear that the Hollow Knight was not able to contain the Radiance, the Pale King resorted to his final plan. He fucked off, hiding himself, his White Palace,
Going
and
to
his
a
Pale Court
dream
in the dream
world.
world. At this point, all of the furniture in the palace was covered under white sheets, similar to how people in the real world cover their furniture while away on long trips. The palace was also completely covered with thorns and buzzsaws, similar to how people in the real world cover their houses with thorns and buzzsaws. The Pale King would eventually pass away while sitting on his throne in the White Palace. There's no confirmation on what killed him, but there are a few things to consider. The throne room is incredibly dark compared to the rest of the palace, and the particle effects and ambient track in this room are identical to that of the Abyss.
Oh, that's interesting.
All of the king's molds surrounding the Pale King are dead.
Because they're all
The ancient
also
basin
Abyss
itself
creatures,
also has
possibly?
become stained with the presence of void, as it can be seen as high as the rundown elevator shaft leading back to the city. Remember that bug that was sealed away in the Abyss to make sure the lighthouse wasn't turned off? Well,
it turned off.
the lighthouse was turned off. I guess
What
that
an
whole living
idiot,
with
bro. You
purpose
had
thing
one
is a
job.
crock of shit after all. It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse. Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void? Is the Void able to think for itself? Can it form strategies? Does it host a podcast? Well, according
Does it
to this
host a
Chozo
podcast?
statue ripoff, the Void is powerful, but not unified.
No.
So while it can thrash around at things that come near it, or call out in unison to turn off a light, it's not a single conscious being.
That's kind of
Getting back to
interesting,
the Pale
though.
King, one could argue that the Void might have played a role in his ultimate demise, and I've argued that viewpoint in the past, but we have to remember that there isn't enough evidence to know for sure. As an expert lawyer and a good friend of mine, Johnny Cochran, once said, "Any evidence that the Void was involved in the Pale King's death is circumstantial." My name is Johnny Cochran.
Bro, Johnny
Just above the
Cochran,
White
what are you
Palace,
doing here,
the
man?
bugs in the City of Tears weren't faring much better.
Did you really care about Hollow
Even
Knight
if we
that
ignore
much?
the fact that the infection was still around, there were other issues that helped lead to the city's downfall. Due to the gates being sealed, some bugs resorted to cannibalism
just
in order
ate.
to avoid starvation. And there's also that metric fuckton of corpses lining the walls of the Soul Sanctum.
That too.
When all was said and done, the only citizen left standing is Eternal Emelita, who just laughs her ass off about it like she's a fucking Dark Souls character.
I honestly hate her.
The White Lady
Yeah,
ends up in a
she makes
cocoon
no
deep within the
sense.
Queen's
So she just
gardens.
lives eternally?
She
how
decided to
come
place
she lives
bindings on
forever?
herself in order to keep her from spreading her seed. She claims that this is because of the shame she feels in helping the Pale King create the vessels, but honestly, it's probably just her kink. The White Lady also diminished her power, possibly
Why is
as
the
a way
White
to
Lady
keep
so
herself
horny
hidden
in
from
this
unwanted
lore?
visitors. Outside her cocoon, Dryia stood guard, protecting her queen from the violent traitor mantises. Dryia is eventually killed off by these bugs, which is actually pretty pathetic if you think about it. I mean, we're talking like the Netgear WPN824N150
We're back to routers?
pathetic. Speaking of great knights dying pathetically, let's move on to
What?
Hegemel. Hegemel held the city crest,
Hegemel.
he used to open one of the gates to the City of Tears. At some point, Hegemel's armor shell was stolen by a maggot. Now, maggots were generally looked down upon and forced to do menial labor. They were incredibly weak, and basically deserved all of the discrimination they got. But this one maggot decided to turn the tide, so he stole Hegemel's shell so that he could defend his downtrodden brothers.
So what was
His actions
Hegemel?
weren't motivated by the infection, but
Was
instead was the
Hegemel not a
result of how
maggot?
hierarchical caste systems will always lead to revolution from the working class, and that true freedom can only be achieved,
Okay.
blah blah blah, capitalism is bad, subscribe to my Patreon.
Alright.
Ogre moved to the Royal Waterways and started living in shit, changing his name to Dung
It would have been
Defender.
interesting to see what
Now,
some of
I
these
love
other
wallowing in
characters
shit as much as the
actually
next
looked
guy,
like, rather
You'd
than
have
just
to
a white
really love shit
shadow
to
and
put up with living with the flukes. The Dung
Alright.
Defender kept an unwavering sense of duty and loyalty to the king, and love for his fellow knights. So much so that he made shit statues of them.
shit
How nice.
statues. Those
Ogrim
were
acted
pretty
as a
nice.
defender of the pipeways,
Quite the
as well as
sculptor.
Isma's Grove. A section of the Royal Waterways became filled with acid, and in the middle of it all rests Isma's corpse, which has been overcome by plant life. Isma is likely the one responsible for this acid blight, but we have no idea what happened to her. Hornet's whereabouts during this time are fairly mysterious. We know that she
Yeah.
departed Deep Nest and didn't return until the events of the game. At some point, she took to guarding Halnest from intruding warriors, as well as the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge.
See, that's what I was
Despite the
thinking
Kingdom's
about.
woes at large, fortunately this
Didn't
fate
she
did
just
not
kill
befall
like
one of the
every
fandom's
single
favorite
Hollow
characters.
knight
The
that came
Menderbugs
back?
continue to
except
fix the broken
ours?
signs and wayposts of Halonest. From a diary entry, we can see that one Menderbug in particular had found himself on the precipice of a long and loving relationship.
Nice with the sign.
Hello again, Diary. Not long now until the next Minder Bash. For us stealthy types, we're a riotous bunch when we get together. And
What?
Minderberry kept flashing me that smile. It might be
Whoa.
time to muster my courage and act on it. I
Menderberry.
love my home and my life, but
Looking
sharing it with
pretty
another?
nice.
Why, that'd be the berry on top.
He's a
Greenpath
bottom.
also underwent some changes during this time. The
He's a
Mosskin were
bottom.
waiting for Un's
Okay.
call, which would bring them
I don't
back
understand
into
how
the dream they were
Menderbug
originally
actually
born
makes
from.
anything for
But
lore.
for some reason, Un's strength deteriorated. We don't know why this happened exactly. Was it due to the White Lady claiming part of her kingdom? Was it somehow due to the infection? Some Mosskin believe that Un went into hiding, but it appears as though Un is, in fact, calling to her children. But many of the Mosskin are unable to hear her call. Instead, many Mosskin seem to have taken the Radiance's infection into their leaves, which might explain why Greenpath became overgrown with vegetation despite Un's deteriorating powers. Mossy Vagabonds
Oh?
even openly chose to forsake
Yeah,
Un and
Mossy
worship the Radiance.
Vagabonds. Okay, so
Another
they
tribe to
did
be screwed
openly
over by
choose
the
to
Radiance
forsake
is the
Un.
Hive,
Okay.
which fell to the infection after the death of their leader, Hive Queen Vespa.
Oh,
But
so
it
Hive
appears
Queen
as
was
though
just
this had
dead that
little
whole
effect on
time?
their civilization. The Radiance's hive mind was already familiar to the bees, since the hive probably operated under something similar already. So in other words, the hive probably made out the best in this whole situation. Let's turn our
Because they
attention
turned
back to the
themselves
moths.
away from the
After
rest of
all,
civilization.
it's their god that keeps killing everybody. Well, the moth tribe didn't fare too well, actually, as pretty much the entire tribe died out. The only known survivor is the seer. Despite the loss of her tribe, the seer continued to tend to the graves in the resting grounds, while also waiting the arrival of the wielder, a mysterious being that her tribe has dreamt of for a while.
The
In the Kingdom's
Wielder.
Edge, the land became
She's just been
covered
chilling
in
with
ash,
the
molting off of the
he or
worm's
whatever. It's just been
decomposing
chilling with
corpse.
the
The Colosseum of Fools continued to
Wielder's
thrive.
blade.
The Lord Fool passed away at some point,
The
but
Lord
nobody really
Fool.
seems to notice or even care. The fools
Yeah,
inside the
why
Colosseum
care?
were infected, but still seem to have maintained control over themselves. It seems possible that these bugs took in the infection willingly, similar to the Traitor Lord and his followers.
for power.
This would have
That
given
makes
them an
some
edge in
sense.
combat, similar to using steroids, but without the whole shrinking testicles thing.
Damn it.
However, even the Traitor Lord and his followers went mad, so what makes these fools any more special? As for the Pale
Oh.
King's champion, the Pale Lurker, well, she just went the normal kind of insane. There appears to have been another
Solitude.
unforeseen event with the Pale King's plan.
Solitude
when
will
the
do
Hollow
it.
Knight was
Solitude will
originally
do it.
chosen, the door
Make
to
you
the
go
abyss
crazy.
was sealed, trapping the discarded vessels within. But apparently, some vessels didn't get the memo. Vessel corpses can be found littered throughout the kingdom. There's one in the Ancient Basin, one in Greenpath, and several trapped in Nosk's lair in Deep
Nosk
Nest.
is a spooky
Another
area.
vessel that escaped from the abyss is the player character, the Knight. The exact details on how the vessels escaped the abyss is unclear. There are indications that they might have slipped into Deep Nest through some old passageway, given void
How?
influences in part of the area, and all the corpses found in Nosk's lair.
Nosk lair would
At
make
some point,
sense.
all
That'd be
entrances to
interesting.
Hollownest were closed off, with the old well and Earthmouth being the only way to sneak back in. Despite this, several people have wormed their way into the kingdom, with few ever returning. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seem content to just pillage artifacts from the
Lem.
ruined kingdom, but other bugs seemed interested in something greater. In the Howling Cliffs
Like a
rests the
circus?
corpse of a member of the Grim Troop. The task of this bug appears to have been to seek out Hallownest, so that the troop might be summoned to the kingdom in the future. The Grim Troop are basically a group of bugs that serve a higher being known as the Nightmare Heart. The troop keeps the heart alive by feeding
What
on
does
the
the
nightmares
Nightmare
of
Heart
fallen
do?
kingdoms. This process also involves sacrificing the troop master to his own child because, hey, look at this cool ass boss battle. Another important group that traveled to
there you go.
Hallownest are the God Seekers.
Look at this
After being
insane
abandoned by their
parental
old
fight.
gods, the gods of thunder and the gods of rain, these bugs left their home in the Land of Storms, seeking out a new god
The
to
Land of
worship.
Storms,
The
that's
God
what it
Seekers
is.
look to gods to save them from their own silent mind. While traveling through the wastelands, the God Seekers constructed devices called God Tuners, which helped them seek out new gods. Through this device, they were able to detect the lingering power of the Pale King and find their way to
Okay.
Hallownest.
The
When they
gods
arrived,
of,
however,
gods of
the God
Hollownest.
Seeker was forced into hibernation. She was encased in a strange sarcophagus-like cocoon, which was itself chained up with a lock. It's not clear how this forced hibernation worked, seeing as the cocoon appears to have been made by the God Seeker herself.
Oh, she caused
As for who
herself
put
to
the
go into
cocoon in
hibernation.
chains,
That's
I think
interesting.
the most likely candidate is the Dung Defender, considering how the God Seeker's cocoon is found in the Junk Pit in the waterways,
In the
an
Junk
area the
Pit?
Dung
That makes
Defender
some
has
sense.
tasked himself with protecting. This was the general picture of Hallownest after the Hollow Knight was sealed inside the Temple of the Black Egg. The kingdom was stuck in a kind of stasis, with the Pale King civilization destroyed and the Radiants unable to break free from her chains. The Pale King was rebelling against nature, trying to keep his work standing indefinitely. The stasis over Hallownest held for an age. How long is that exactly? Well, we have no idea. As I'm sure you've
1
noticed,
year.
there really isn't a
Exactly,
timeline for anything
an
that
age.
happens in this game. We also have no idea how long any of these bugs can
1 year.
actually live. Elderbug wasn't around to see the stagways open, but we know several other characters were, implying that Elderbug is probably one of the youngest characters in the whole game. But this stasis over Hallownest wasn't going to last forever. At some point, the Radiance erupted out of the Hollow Knight, cracking its shell and releasing a loud and powerful roar. The amount of infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight became even greater. The many corpses that lined the roads and cities of the kingdom sprang to life with the amplified power of the infection. This strengthened infection prompted the departure of the Weavers back to their old home. Now this old home might actually be Farloom.
Guys, look! Look, guys, we're gonna get that soon. We're gonna get it soon, guys. Guys, we'll see it soon, I swear, I promise. We'll see Farloom soon. Are you guys excited for Farloom? I am. I'm excited for Farloom.
Kingdom in which Hollow Knight Silksong takes place.
Guys, look at
But the
that.
amount
Isn't that an expansive world? See that? That's like a fish almost. That's like a fish almost. We're gonna see that soon, guys. See this thing? Doesn't this look weird? Like we get the same mask thing, but like what is this? What does this do? What's this do? Is this also soul or is it something different?
amount of knowledge we have about Silksong right now is pathetic, so I'm not
My
saying it's
gosh.
confirmed or anything.
Is that like a
This is
that
also
like a
around
cut
the time
content
that
lava
Quirrell
area?
arrives back in Hallownest. His memory of Motomon appears to have been
Is the
clouded
entirety
due
of
to his time
Silksong just
outside
cut
of
content?
Hallownest. These events are depicted in the Quirrell prequel comic, which also shows an image of the Hollow Knight with a pre-cracked shell. This could mean that Quirrell's arrival happens roughly the same time the Hollow Knight's shell
more
cracks. At around the same time Quirrell arrives in Hallownest, we also see the arrival
Aren't you
of
guys
the player
excited for
character,
Silksong?
who is
Comes out this
commonly
year,
referred to as the
obviously.
Knight.
This year's the
Knight
year.
was one of the lucky vessels that was able to make its way out of the abyss.
Silksong
Somehow,
will
the
come
Knight
back,
ended
just
up
like the
venturing
Incredibles
beyond
after 10
Hallownest
years.
and into the wilds beyond. It's implied that the Knight was called to Hallownest by either the sealed Hollow Knight or the Radiants within. Regardless, once the Knight shows up and yeets itself off this cliff, the actual game of Hollow Knight finally begins. Now, there's a lot of details we could get into. Hallownest is full of NPCs and bosses,
Well,
each
there's
with
a
their own
fluke
stories to
NPC?
tell. But to be honest, I don't think we need to go through all of them, since their stories are relatively straightforward. For example, let's look at the Brooding Moloch. So why is the Brooding Moloch brooding? Because all its friends are dead.
Oh,
And there you go, that's the lore for the Brooding Moloch. Also, it's the only character in the game with a visible asshole.
nice.
Now, did you really need me to explain
didn't know
that to
that.
you? Probably
I didn't
not.
know that.
So instead, I'm just going to talk about the interactions relating to Hollow Knight's main story. The Knight is eventually noticed by Hornet, who lures it deep into Greenpath. There, Hornet attempts to kill the Knight, claiming that she knows what it would try to do. At this point, Hornet views the Knight as being too weak.
Yeah.
After the fight, Hornet can be found in the City of Tears.
Does
next to
Hornet
the statue
think
of
that the Hollow Knight would just
Hornet mentions that
only
the Knight
seal
has gained
away
resilience
himself?
due to the time it spent in the void beyond Hallownest. This could be referring to the fact that some of those who leave Hallownest lose their memories, meaning the Knight would have no memories of its own tragic conception. Hornet tells the Knight that if it seeks to continue the stasis that keeps Hallownest standing, it must seek the Graven Ash, which is referring to the Kingdom's Edge. At this moment, Hornet sees the Knight as a possible replacement for the Hollow Knight. Basically, the Knight could break the seals that keep the Hollow Knight locked away, defeat the Hollow Knight, and contain the infection itself. It's at this point that I should mention that Hollow Knight actually has 5 different endings, because
Yeah.
of course it would.
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
going to be explaining each of these
Which
endings
one's the
in this
real
video,
ending, huh?
as
Which
they
one's
each
the
give us a
real
different
Hollow
glimpse
Knight
into the
ending?
mechanics of Hollow Knight's world. Now, to get the easiest ending to Hollow Knight, Hornet's instructions to go to the Kingdom's Edge can be ignored completely. If the Knight stumbles upon the resting grounds, the 3 dreamers will appear and cast the Knight into
Mr.
the
Mushroom
dream realm.
ending. Obviously.
There,
That's the
Seer
only
will
one that
come
says
the
to be
Knight's
continued.
rescue and
I think
grant
you're
it the
right.
Dream Nail, a special blade that can tear the veil between the real world and the dream world. With the Dream Nail, the Knight can venture to the resting places of the 3 dreamers curb stomp their asses, and unlock the entrance to the Black Egg. Inside the egg, the knight finds the Hollow Knight chained up, silently watching over it. Once the chains are broken, the Hollow Knight screams with that familiar Radiance roar and pursues the knight. As
This
the
was
fight
a really
progresses, the Hollow
emotional
Knight
boss
starts trying to
fight. I
kill
remember
itself,
fighting
Coral
it.
style. But then the Radiance starts using the Hollow Knight's body to perform her own attacks. Once defeated, the Hollow Knight begins to spew infection all over the place. The knight can then focus the infection into itself. This results in the first ending of the game, called Hollow Knight. In this ending, the knight usurps the Hollow Knight, prolonging the stasis over Hallownest. New chains and bindings appear out of fuck if I know, and contain the knight, and a new seal
guess
is
that's
placed
fair.
over the entrance to the Black Egg.
Fuck if I know.
Now there is one giant question looming over
fair
this
enough.
ending.
It's,
Can the
it's
knight
a
actually
terrible
contain the
ending.
infection indefinitely?
No.
Or will the Radiance still manage to break free one day?
I think it would break
Before
free
we
one
answer
day.
this question, let's look at some of the other events that can transpire while playing the game.
Because I will say, I went and saw Hornet, and I went, that's gonna be my waifu. And then Hornet didn't become
If the
my
player
waifu.
chooses to go to Kingdom's
But that
Edge,
thought was
Hornet
instilled.
will challenge the knight one last time as a final test of strength. After her defeat, Hornet allows the knight to access the cast-off shell, where the Pale King was originally hatched. By interacting with this egg, the knight's shell is marked with the king's brand, technically making the knight the new ruler of Hallownest. With the king's brand, the knight can now open the entrance to the abyss and discover the place of its birth. When leaving the abyss, the knight can encounter Hornet again, where for the first time, Hornet suggests that there are actually two outcomes the knight can enact. She tells the knight that it can either prolong Hallownest stasis or face the heart of the kingdom's infection.
Hornet's not
Within
a
the
waifu,
night,
you freak.
Hornet
Oh,
sees
it's
a
a
chance
sister?
for change. Instead of just replacing
not
the
even by
Hollow Knight,
blood.
Hornet believes that it may be possible to get rid of the infection completely by using the void inside of the knight. After visiting the abyss and obtaining the Shade Cloak, the knight is capable of reaching the White Lady.
Kinda by
hidden away in
blood.
the Queen's
Half of the
gardens.
blood.
The White Lady tells the knight that she has been awaiting a vessel to accept a gift, that gift being one half of a charm called the King's Soul, which she claims will give the knight more power. The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel the weakening of the Hollow Knight within her roots. She tells the knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel. From this dialogue, it is implied that the knight truly is a pure vessel, capable of containing the radiance successfully. But it's not quite that simple, so we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper into this. Basically, we're gonna need to answer a simple question. What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight? Despite the White Lady's words, we have
What,
a number of
so we're not
instances where
allowed
the
to like
characters and
Hornet?
item descriptions
But you
mention
guys are
that the
okay
knight
to
has
like
a
the
will,
fluke
and
marm?
maybe even a mind.
Excuse me?
But from the Pale King's dialogue when describing the Hollow Knight, it is stated that a pure vessel has no mind or will. So is the White Lady wrong? Or maybe even lying? Her eyes have been clouded by time, and she can be tricked into thinking that Ogrim
You guys
is in
are
the room
fiends.
when the
You
knight
guys
is
are
wearing the Defender's
fiends.
Crest charm. She also thinks that Drya is still alive, which,
Oh. That's unfortunate.
so maybe the White Lady is just senile.
The White
My
Lady
problem
thinks
with that
Drya's
theory is
still
that the
alive.
White Lady states that the vessels stand out to her clearly in a misted world, due to them being her spawn. She also questions whether or not the knight sought her aid, which would imply that the knight must have some kind of will. So for whatever reason, the White Lady thinks the knight is still capable of containing the radiance, even if it's still able to make decisions. After all, the Hollow Knight was considered pure, but they still taught it how to wield a fucking sword. I mean, if the knight were truly and completely hollow in a literal sense, it probably shouldn't even be able to walk, or draw a map, or open a goddamn bank account.
Hey,
In short, this whole
I considered
concept of
opening
being
that bank
hollow
account,
is so abstract
and I
hard
was
to
scammed out of
define. I don't really feel
100.
comfortable giving a solid answer on
I
whether
was
or not
scammed
the
out of
knight is or
100,
isn't truly hollow. And I think the game leaves room open
of
for
that
other
Geo.
interpretations.
Worst
Of course,
100
the White
Geo
Lady's
I ever
gift
spent.
is useless without the other half of the King's Soul. In order to reach it, however, the knight must travel to the White Palace, locked inside the body of a King's Mold. In order to bypass the seal, the knight must use a fully awakened Dream Nail. It can do this by bringing 1800 essence to the seer, allowing her to sharpen the weapon's blade. If the knight does this, the seer remarks that the knight truly is the wielder that her tribe has been
having
dreaming
An
of.
affair with
There's no
Cornifer?
explicit reason why the
Alright.
Moth tribe was dreaming about this supposed wielder so much, but it seems like they believe the wielder would wash
We're
away the
smashing
crimes the
Cornifer, but not
Mothra
his wife?
committed by turning their backs on the Radiants.
I'm not
the
doing
seer
a
seems
smash
to
or
know
pass
that the
on this
knight
game.
might kill the Radiants, and she seems accepting of it, ready for her and her tribe to disappear and be forgotten forever. With the awoken dream nail in hand, the knight can travel to the Pale King's refuge and locate the other half of the King's Soul charm. When equipped, the King's Soul provides a never-ending supply of soul, making it almost useful if it weren't for the insanely high cost of the charm.
It would have
and
been a
the
really
painfully slow
useful
rate at which it
thing.
increases.
I
and
swear
the
I've
fact
seen
that the
another
charm will get
mode where this
replaced in about
charm
5
comes
minutes
back
after you get
so
it.
much faster.
The King's
But
Soul
yep,
charm
that
itself
charm was
symbolizes
extremely
the union
short-lived.
between two higher beings. To me, this implies that the King's Soul is a representation of a vessel, which also was created by the union of two higher beings. With the King's Soul in their inventory, the knight now gains access to an area in the
You
abyss
need
called
what?
the Birthplace. In this massive pile of vessel shells, the knight can find a giant egg. Dream nailing the egg allows the knight to access its own memory when it was cast down into the abyss. From viewing that memory, the King's Soul charm is replaced with the Void Heart charm.
Okay.
The recollection of this event allows the knight to come to terms with the void inside itself. Once the knight has
And
the
now
Void
he can
Heart,
abuse
shades of
the
abyss
hell
no
out of
longer
it.
attack it. And that strange creature that gives the knight the Shade Cloak calls
you
it
can-
the Lord of Shades.
You can dream
In
nail
other
this?
words, the knight has now bound the once fragmented void under its own will,
That's kinda
allowing it
cool.
to control the void in a powerful new
Is
way.
that an actual thing you fight?
With the union of the Void, the Pale King,
And
and the
Dream-
White
and
Lady,
Godhood?
the
And
knight
Dream?
has gained a strength before unseen. It is with this charm that 2 additional endings become unlocked. Hornet will now be standing
Yeah.
outside of the Black Egg, offering
This
to help
is the
the knight
ending
should
I
the
went with.
opportunity arrive. Midway through the fight with the Hollow Knight, Hornet rushes into battle, subduing the Hollow Knight and piercing its shell. It's at this point that the knight is given the perfect opportunity to enter into the mind of its sibling.
Nah,
finding the
he's
source
just
of the
gonna smack
infection
the hell out
head
of
on,
it.
and finally putting an end to the Radiance's tyranny.
That's where it's gonna go. Or you can just
stand there and
smack
let
it.
Hornet get knocked unconscious.
Oh,
If the knight
yeah.
finishes off the Hollow Knight as usual, the sealed sibling ending occurs. Basically, it's the same as the Hollow Knight ending, but
Except
now Hornet is in
Hornet
the room
dies
too,
too.
and
And
her
she gets
face
a
appears on the
mask.
door of the Black Egg. It's not clear what exactly this means for Hallownest.
It's kind
This
of
might
interesting
imply that
though.
Hornet is now a dreamer, but she's inside the temple, meaning that no one can actually get in there to kill her should the knight ever start leaking infection. At the same time, Hornet mentions that the bindings of the Black Egg would drain her, so she's probably just going to die anyway, right?
It's kind of
Generally,
interesting
people
to think
consider this
about.
to be one of the worst endings.
It is a terrible
But it's worth
ending.
pointing out that Team Cherry doesn't support any one ending as being the true ending.
Which is also
Each ending is
stupid.
canonical in its own right. And honestly, this ending isn't the worst. At least the Knight and Hornet will get to spend some quality time together.
No, they don't.
If the Knight does
See?
dream of a
See?
Hollow Knight,
I'm not alone! I'm not alone!
it will be taken to an arena where it can finally fight the Radiance head on. But the Knight isn't alone, as the other shades from the Abyss will appear in order to help corner the Radiance. Eventually the Radiance gets trapped in the tendrils of the Void. The Knight bitch slaps her a couple times, and then the
Yep.
Radiance is consumed into the darkness. The Black Egg then appears to turn to shadows and the Void seeps down into the ground. Hornet awakens to find the Knight's broken shell lying on the floor.
This
We get
this
one
ending
final
did feel
shot of
kind
the
of
shades in the Abyss going to
sad.
rest, and the game is over.
It
This
still
ending
felt
is called
pretty
the Dream
sad.
No More ending. The Radiance is gone,
But-
and Hallownest is finally free from her infection.
Yeah, Hollow Nest being...
Now I think it's fair
Free.
to ask a few questions about how the Dream No More ending comes about. When the Hollow Knight was initially chosen to become the pure vessel, the Abyss was sealed up and the rest of the vessels were left to rot away. But somehow, vessels ended up outside of the Abyss, and
Yes.
then one of those vessels was used to replace the Hollow Knight. Exactly how much of this operation was planned, if at all?
I don't think
The
like
White Lady
any
was
of it.
waiting for a vessel. Did she have any communication with Hornet? Hornet was guarding the King's brand.
I think the
only
White Lady
way for
was waiting
to
for a
enter the
vessel because
Abyss.
she could still feel
How did she
us
know it was necessary
wandering
to guard
around,
the King's
right?
brand from weaker vessels? Hell, if the vessels did escape the Abyss by themselves, wouldn't it be pointless to guard the King's brand, since the vessels could just creep back into the Abyss the same way? I'm not going to provide any good answers to these
Counterpoint, hair
questions,
bugs, they're
because
too
God
small.
forbid I answer anything in this entire video. But I do want to point out that no plans to actually produce the Dream No More ending are explicitly stated in game.
I got this.
So we can only speculate as to whether or not the White Lady or Hornet, or maybe even the Pale King, knew that they could defeat the
Climbing
Radiance
up on
by
me, dude.
creating a Lord of Shades like the Knight. Regardless, the next two endings were definitely not planned. In fact, the
Yeah.
last two endings that
I
were
don't think
added
the
in
Godmaster updates
update
make
almost
any
feel out of
sense.
place. The Godseekers
They seem
basically
just like-
hijack everything to the point where you don't even have to enter the Temple of the Black Egg to beat the game.
The
That's like
Godseeker
being
ending
Mario
just kinda
Bros without
seems
ever
like
seeing
a-
Bowser. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
the Godmaster endings basically reinforce that Hollow Nest does not exist in a vacuum, which can help the world of Hollow Knight feel more real. Because what else is reality but just a bunch of random chaotic stuff happening all the time?
The
If
Godhood
knight
endings
finds the
kind of just
Godseeker in
seem
the
like
junk
some
pit,
sort of
it will
Star
be able to
Killer
enter
shit,
her
if you
mind
ask me.
and refight all the bosses in the game. This is part of the Godseeker's ritual. They basically attune to the resonance of gods through ritual combat. This allows them to ascend their minds higher, and eventually, through the use of godly focus,
Which, the
achieve
Godhood area
communication
has
with
the
god
same sort of
sleeping
little
in Hollow
dream
Nest's heart,
water that
the
kind of looks like
Radiance.
Abyss almost.
Now I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty
Look at that
convoluted
particle
little
effect,
religious
guys. Isn't
practice
that
they have
almost like-
going on
isn't
here.
that almost
What's
like the
next? Are they gonna
Abyss?
start measuring the Knight's Theon levels? It's pretty complicated, but the point is, these Godseekers have some serious capabilities to fuck things up in Hollow Nest, as we're about to see. As the Knight makes
Yeah.
it further and further through the four Pantheons, the Godseekers get closer and closer to making contact with the Radiance, locked away inside the Hollow Knight. At the end of the fourth Pantheon, the Radiance makes herself aware in this strange reunion cutscene between the vessels. But she isn't the only one to make an appearance.
Oh, that's
the
unique.
Void itself appears to go on the attack, rising up to meet the Radiance's call. It's
So,
at this point that the final challenge, the
the
Pantheon
Void
of
is a
Hollow Nest,
god?
becomes available. The Godseeker
In
finally
its own
acknowledges
sense?
the Knight as being
Or else how
more
would
than
the Void
just a
get in there?
simple
The Void would
creature,
have to be
and
a
they
god in
begin
its
to
own
watch the
sort of
Knight more
sense.
intently. After defeating like a bazillion bosses in the final Pantheon, the Knight finally comes face to face with the Absolute Radiance, a stronger, more enhanced version of the game's final boss. Finally, the stage is set. After roughly
Yeah, 'cause I wanna
40
fight a
minutes of
stronger
intense
version
agony
of the
and
Radiance.
tedious boss battles, the Knight has finally reached the ultimate enemy responsible for the destruction of Hollow Nest. Truly, this will be a battle for the ages. But first, let's check in on our old pal Menderbug. As it
Fuck!
turns out, he's still alive when the Knight arrives in Hollow Nest, and he's still fulfilling his duty after all this time.
We know.
Let's take one last look at his diary.
my.
My lovely diary.
This
Someone's
is a
got
different
broke
voice actor
my
now?
favorite sign, right there at the top of the crossroads.
Oh,
Keeps happening too, but you know, I just can't get mad about it. I
because
should
he
be
loves his
thanking them,
job.
Really, more chances to fix that beautiful, complex sign.
Just
And I've
loves to
stocked
fix
up on
that
spare
sign.
parts, so I've no fear it'll ever stay broken for long.
Unfortunately, the only way to ever read the Menderbug's diary is to kill him in cold blood. I'm not sure why
Yep.
Team Cherry thought this was necessary, but the general consensus on Reddit is that they are
Menderbug
bloodthirsty
deserved
warmongers, so it checks out. But at least Menderbug's last moments will be spent fixing one of his favorite signs in the Forgotten Crossroads. It's comforting to think that his final seconds of consciousness were spent in total bliss, before we sent him hurtling into the infinite chasm that is Oblivion. Well,
That's-
anyways,
Yeah, okay.
the alternate fight between the Knight and the Radiance plays out
It's something
differently than
truly
in
sad
the
to
vanilla
think about.
ending. This time around, the Knight is not accompanied by any shades.
No shades, yeah.
Instead, after defeating the Radiance, the Knight seems to transform into this monstrosity.
Which is interesting
now, this
looking.
creature goes by many names.
Bears four
the God
eyes.
of Gods, the Lord Shade, the Devourer, the Void Entity. But I don't really like any of those, so I will just call him Bill. Bill proceeds to completely annihilate
like,
the Radiance in spectacular fashion.
Kind of like Gorm almost.
We are then treated to the Embrace the Void ending. Bill comes back down from the sky, dropping into the rest of Godhome. The Godseeker starts to get pulled into Bill by Void tendrils. We then cut to the Godseeker in the junk pit. Void starts leaking out of her eyes, and it appears as though Bill is making an escape back into the real world, which is probably a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's like an
Finally, we see
extremely
Hornet
bad
standing
thing.
outside of the Black Egg as the infection begins to disappear from nearby vines. Hornet hears footsteps coming from inside the Black Egg as the Hollow Knight reveals itself to her and the two prepare for combat.
Oh, that's
So
unique.
from this cutscene, we can see that the Radiance's death in Godhome actually did kill her for real, meaning that the infection over Hollow Nest is now gone. This means the seals inside of the Black Egg probably wore off, allowing the Hollow Knight to escape its prison. In other
That makes
words,
sense.
the Embrace the Void ending is a goddamn cliffhanger, and we have no idea how Team Cherry plans to follow this up.
Honestly,
The
Hornet
Hollow
probably
Knight
like
is
fought
running
a
loose in
little
Hollow
bit, but
Nest,
had to
and the Knight is
dip like
transformed
hell.
into a raging void monster
Or
that might try to destroy
maybe
the
they end
entire
up-
kingdom. or at least what's left of it.
Maybe they end up
What's
turning
even more
against
strange
Hollow
about this
Knight or
ending
our
is that the
Knight, you know?
announced sequel,
Hollow Knight and
Silk
the
Song,
Hornet
doesn't seem to be related to this ending
go
at all.
fight.
But that's a whole different shit show. Obviously, the biggest mystery surrounding this ending is the appearance of Bill.
Go fight
Did
Bill.
this creature exist in the void already? Or was it somehow willed into existence by the power of the Godseekers? Did the Knight turn into this thing, or did it just become a part of it? Examining a statue of this creature and other forms of the Knight grant the player a Hunter's Journal entry for an ancient artifact called the Void Idol, which might imply this creature might have been worshipped by the ancient civilization. But again, that's pure speculation.
No, I think that's fair.
We don't know what this worship of Void
and
exactly
it
looked
was
like.
marked up by
Maybe the
Lem too,
void
which
they
is
worshipped
interesting.
took the form of something more sinister. There is one thing we know about this monster though. It's weak to flowers. Yes, these things.
Okay.
As it turns out, those delicate flowers that Emyer has stockpiled up her ass are actually useful for something.
Could you
They
imagine
contain a
taking that
strange
flower
power
all the
that
way
even deters the
to
White Lady from touching one.
where
The Godseeker, however,
Godseeker?
is dumb enough to accept a flower from the Knight. If the player does this, instead of Void being released out into the world, this flower pulls a no you, and the Godseeker and Void disappear into thin air. The flower itself is described as giving off a pale light, which appears to connect it to the pale beings. Like I said before, pale beings appear to be some form of top-tier gods. As of right now, we are only aware of two, the Pale King and the White Lady, but the fact that
makes it a
Emyer brought
void
these
god.
pale flowers from a faraway land implies that there are definitely more of them out there. Another small hint of the existence of pale beings are
Pale
the pale
ore.
ore items that can
Okay.
be found all over Hallownest.
Guess
Did these
that's
come from
fair.
the Pale King, or possibly some other pale being? And what exactly are they? Are they poop? In
They're
general,
eggs,
the
man.
Godmaster endings appear to
They're
be doing a
eggs.
lot of setup for future Hollow Knight content. Like I said before, Hollow Knight Silksong doesn't seem to connect these events on the surface, so we are in a bit of a bind when trying to
this
discuss
a demo?
what these endings actually
Or is
mean
this,
for the greater narrative Team Cherry's
Is
building.
this something Team Cherry had
There's
at a
definitely a lot
Nintendo
more to
thing or
consider
something?
about what the pale beings are and what properties they possess. And we also have plenty of questions surrounding the Void and how bugs have interacted with it in the past. It almost feels like we're looking through a keyhole, trying to grasp onto the
Oh
totality
yeah,
of Team
that's
Cherry's
like
creation.
the
How
first
powerful
Blade
are
Master guy
creatures
or
like
whatever.
Bill and the worms? Where did things like the Void even come from to begin with? How much bigger is the world beyond Hallownest? Is Bardoon into butt stuff?
He must
But
be.
of course, that's the appeal of a game like Hollow Knight.
Bardoon love
Having
butt
all
stuff.
of the answers to every question would just ruin the mystery of the world. Plus, if we didn't have questions like this to waste our time on, then what else would we be doing with our lives?
Playing the third Coliseum
Go
level.
outside?
Oh yeah, my
Ugh.
bad. Yeah, going
And so
outside.
this video comes to an end. Now I know the average attention span of a YouTube viewer is 9 minutes,
It is?
so let me leave you with a few takeaways. 1. Hollow Knight is a game about
Guys, are you telling me that the average viewing time for you guys is 9 minutes? That's all you guys can sit through?
bugs. I know this may come as a shock, but it's true. Watch the video again, and this time, pay attention. You'll notice right away, I promise. 2. Murdering your own babies might not be such a good idea after all. I mean, this is obviously just my interpretation of the game's lore. Other people might have different views on
Get
the
up to
subject of murdering
6969 on
babies,
average? That's
and
not
every
bad.
opinion is valid, so I
It's
don't
not
want to
bad.
step on anyone's toes or anything. 3. Menderbug is fucking dead.
No!
Nothing is certain. This video probably has a few flaws in it. Trying to construct
Probably.
a cohesive narrative with the information found in Hollow Knight isn't exactly straightforward.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
easy.
sure my views will change in the future, and I encourage you to explore the lore yourself. 5. And this last point is fairly obvious, but I should mention it anyway.
Cory in the house.
Cory in the House is the
It's
best
a, it's
anime.
a best anime. What? It's the best anime.
It's a party every week, baby.
It's just called weed shit.
Right, I'm in the house.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright. So, dude, give me just a second. Let me wrap things up here, alright? And then I can take care of you, alright, dude? That was the lore of Hollow Knight. Mostly the lore of Hollow Knight. That's what we're gonna call it. And I'm gonna leave you guys all here with that. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys all being here. I have been Emyer, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye.